And there's a grand final on the line here at the Gabba. The NEAFL TV preliminary final. Michael Price and Mark Kennedy calling all of your action alongside the Encyclopedia of Queensland Football in Bob Batty. But first, Mark Kennedy, Kanga, this is going to be a superb game of football on a beautiful day in southeast Queensland.
Well, like Meatloaf said, you took the words right out of my mouth there, Pricey, because it is a magnificent day here at the Gabba. And I think two evenly matched teams. Of course, Brisbane have had the wood on Sydney Uni earlier in the year. But with 16 listed players today, Sydney Uni pretty much at full strength. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. Bob Batty, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, yeah, definitely a ripper. You wouldn't want to be anywhere else, Mark and Pricey. Today at the Gabba, beautiful day, sun shining, 25 degrees. Just great to be alive, isn't it? And certainly Sydney Uni, they've gone to the well twice in the last 2 years and just fallen over on this day 2 years in a row. I'm a believer. Like the old monkeys, I'm a believer, and I think they can get across the line today.
A few musical references going on pretty early in the day. Look, it just fell short is probably a bit of an understatement, Bob. In the last couple of years, preliminary finals, the Students lost to the Thunder by 70 points and then the Giants by 87 points last year. So they're looking at a lot better showing this year. And Kanga, I reckon this is the year that they've got a better show at getting through to the big dance.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, they were premiership favourites coming into the season, just given the depth they brought into their lineup this year. Of course, headed by Xavier Richards. And late in the season, we've seen the former Sydney Swan, Tom Derricks, come in. Of course, Aspley premiership player Jonathan Williams has come down to form part of the Sydney Uni outfit as well, alongside their veterans. You know, the Tom Youngs, the Zach O'Brien who's come in, the Austin Lucys, the Pest, Damien Bonney as well. Everywhere you look, including Stevenson, Hiscox has come in. There's stars in that group, but of course the Brisbane Lions, they got plenty of their own as well who are going to front up for the NEAFL team.
Exactly right. Rowan Buick's got 100 AFL games. You've got Clay Beams in there. Cedric Cox has had a great debut season for Brisbane. I think a great addition is Michael Close coming back in. He is that guy who does all of that unrewarded running, creating space and opening the space up for other players to come into.
He was very important here in a game only 2 weeks ago here at the Gabba, where he dominated the first half. Didn't hit the scoreboard much, but was involved in a lot of their scoring. I think Matthew Hamilman could be a big danger for the Students too. He's in good form, kicking the ball well, and his confidence is really up. So they've got some really good prongs up forward. I still think Uni might just have the edge in hunger, in my opinion, to maybe get through to the big dance.
Well, the hunger's the factor. It's a preliminary final. It's all to play for, Kanga. I think it's going to be really important. Sam Tagliabue, the ex-VFL-listed ruckman for Sydney Uni, up against McInerney and Smith. I think McInerney and Smith absolutely smashed that battle last time they played, and they won the hitouts by 30 and the clearances by 15. So that's a massive battle for Sydney Uni.
Well, and again, coming in here, the backup ruckman's also going to be very important. We think it might be either Tom or Jesse Derricks who's going to fill that role this afternoon, and they really need to provide a contest because, as you said, McInerney and Smith have been fantastic this year, working in tandem, getting the ball down, and we saw them dominate even the Sydney Swans back through there. It's going to be a key battle through the middle of the ground, and I think this is the thing, that if Brisbane can get some quality ball going forward to their tall forwards, it's going to be hard for Sydney Uni, and conversely, if the Sydney Uni midfielders get off the leash, we know they can push forward, not only give their forwards a chance, but they can kick goals ad nauseum.
They certainly can, yeah. Stevenson, Zach O'Brien, what a brilliant back half of the year. Certainly in Team of the Year for the NEAFL. And look, his form in the last few weeks has been super, and he's really got a bone to pick, hasn't he? When you look down at the Brisbane Lions list, and he was part of that list only a couple of years ago. So he's really got something to prove. I think there's a lot of players there from Sydney Uni that really believe they are good enough and they can go the next step.
As you can hear, there are plenty of kiddies running around here at the Gabba, and it's a family day here in the NEAFL preliminary final. Really looking forward to this game. Okay, guys, give us your predictions.
Look, I'll start. I'll say 11 points.
Kanga.
And I'm going to go the opposite way. I think Brisbane got the better of Sydney Uni, albeit with 21 listed in their only meeting this year. I think they might just have enough. It certainly won't be any great margin for mine. Couple of goals going the Lions' way.
I reckon Brisbane by a couple of points, Kanga. That's how close I reckon it's going to be. A magnificent day here at the Gabba. It is the Brisbane Lions versus Sydney Uni, streaming live on NEAFL TV, and really looking forward to seeing this battle unfold as we look down into the forward line, and you see young Ruben William getting involved with a couple of players, including Michael Manteep. But going in the middle, this is Mark Kanga Kennedy to kick off the preliminary final.
Well, we are here at the Gabba, the beautiful Brisbane cricket ground. Spring has sprung here as the ball gets underway. The preliminary final for 2017. Young gets a muffled kick forward going his way. There's Aiton running onto it quickly. Under pressure, gets the ball inside forward 50. Eagles leads the chase. He'll pick it up. He's the captain for the day. Gets out a defensive 50. The kick's not a good one, although Brisbane made good of it because McInerney and Close combined to put the pressure on. Lions lays a tackle as well. Sirakoski off half back. He'll try and work it out. Now Stevenson gets the kick inside forward 50. Ruben Williams back there and takes a good defensive mark.
Yeah, well read by Ruben William, and a quick start from Sydney Uni. Now Brisbane want to get the ball moving through Buick. Goes just outside defensive 50. Clay Beams chips it forward with Corey Lyons now. Handball back inboard to Payne. Jack Payne. Will be interesting to see how the Lions Academy member performs today. Cedric Cox, great debut season for Brisbane this year.
Yeah, really good player, young Cedric Cox, very quick and good skills, both sides of the body.
Or Eagles, just caught and scrubbed off his kick. Clever tap from McInerney, gets to Clayton, chips it inside 50 and finds Ben Keys. Just a deft little tap from the NEAFL Lions best and fairest winner in Oscar McInerney, and Ben Keys will line up.
Come a long way this year, hasn't he, Oscar? He's been a very consistent ruckman for Brisbane, and together with Archie Smith, they form a great combination. Ben
Keys can get it started here. We'll follow this on your NEAFL TV cameras. We'll use the left foot to effect. It starts a little right and curls back, one behind. So first score of the game after nearly 2 minutes of play here in the first term. Brisbane Lions get the first behind.
So Sirakoski, he'll bring it back in, gives it to Xavier Richards. They put themselves under a little bit of pressure. Baron Hay now back to Xavier Richards. Puts the afterburners on. Can't quite clear it. That's Jesse Derricks. He's wrapped up. And Brisbane, they'll keep the ball in the area as they force it out of bounds. So a throw in. And they didn't look overly convincing coming out of the back half there, Bob.
No, they didn't. And good defensive pressure by the Brisbane line forwards. That's what they've got to do. Close always brings that to the table.
So throw in right on forward 50. Stanley Street side of the ground. Archie Smith took front spot. O'Brien was there. Keys wraps him up. And we'll go again. And Zach O'Brien, as you mentioned, I think it might have been Bob, second half of this season here was absolutely electric, as was his elimination final. Stevenson. Now to O'Brien. He was under pressure and got cleaned up high as they came through. And he's hasn't moved too much. In fact, he is not going particularly well. He knows every blade of grass here at the Gabba, and he saw quite a few with his cheek as it hit the deck. The former Brisbane Lion.
Might have inhaled a few there. He was that close to it, Kanga. Gets up holding the chin, does Zach O'Brien. Rowan Buick standing the mark.
Not a great lot of remonstration, though, from the students. So it might have just been a shoulder, a lazy shoulder.
Dangerous kick. Close gets involved for Brisbane at the foot of the pack. Ben Keys gets to 50. Nice pressure from Sydney Uni. Could have been taken without the ball there, but they will get it out through Stevenson. Now Lucy. That's a big handball over to Zach O'Brien down the outer side. Brisbane have got all the numbers here, Kanga, and they should be able to repel.
We're just structuring up well, aren't they? As Dawson coming out was Hamilton to try and beat it. Keys to Close. Now to Buick. Buick shoots on goal. And that's the first one of this afternoon. Preliminary final, grand final on offer for the victor this afternoon. It goes the Lions' way, 1-1-7. Sydney Uni yet to score. We've played 4 minutes of this first quarter.
Well, Ben Keys, he's got the job on Zach O'Brien. I know Zach O'Brien was eating a bit of grass there at certain stages in the last minute. But good work from Ben Keys. He really worked hard. Quick hands through. I'm not sure who gave the last handball, but it was a beautiful finish from Rowan Buick. He on his left foot, on his preferred left foot, he is a master of kicking those goals on the run. And great start for the Brisbane Lions.
I reckon that was Michael Close that was involved in the chain of handballs there, Bob.
Yeah, good work, Close.
So the two ruckmen, the two number 44s, in fact, Archie Smith for Brisbane and Tom Derricks for Sydney Uni. Beautiful bounce from the umpire. I'll give that one to Archie Smith. Down to Ben Keys, who started off on fire for the Brisbane Lions. He floats one inside 50, diving Oscar McInerney in front of his opponent there in James Lonergan. And he'll have a shot at goal. He'll have to let this go from about 45 metres. It's just one of those kicks where it floats in, and if you're playing in front, it's a benefit.
Especially when you're 208 centimetres.
Does help. Oscar McInerney, who only last night won the Lions NEAFL side best and fairest. Kicks it from just inside 50. It's a high ball to the line. Just floating across there. Poor defence from Sydney Uni. Floating across was Hamilman. Almost uncontested. Right on the line. He plays on the outside of the right shoe. And it's a great goal from Matthew Hamilman. The Sydney Uni defence having a discussion in the goal square, saying, what the heck happened there?
Well, for the Brisbane Lions, Matthew Hamilman, that's 40 goals for him for the season. That's a good return. And, of course, he's played a few games up at AFL level this year also. 40 goals, 19. So, as you mentioned, he's been a big improver in the NEAFL, Bob.
He certainly has. He's had a very, very consistent year. And a lot of those games when he did go up, they played him in defence. So he hasn't really had a real hit out at senior level in the forward half. So that's something that they've got to think about before they start the 2018 season. But no, great goal and fantastic start from the Lions.
Underway again. Smith gets it down, but straight to Zach O'Brien on that occasion. His kick was smothered. Cedric Cox with pace, with panache coming through. Takes a bounce, takes them on. Pressure just got to him in the finish. Good work there by Tom Derricks. Sirakoski will try and mop it up for Sydney University. Bonnie went hard at it. Hinge, it was good work there by Buick as well. Ends up with Archie Smith. They go deep inside forward 50. Close!
Oh! That's close to the mark of the year, Kanga.
He had a good look at it. You saw him coming at it. I had the binoculars on him early, and he put the knee in and took an absolute beauty.
Oh, what a pack mark that was for Michael Close. Bob Batty.
Yes, yeah, I can understand why it took your breath away there, Michael. That was a great mark. He had the crowd behind him. He rose high, went early, put the knee up and held onto it as he hit the bottom with the posterior, really hit it hard. So let's hope it doesn't put the kick off, but really deserves a goal.
18 goals in his 12 games in season 2017 from 38 metres straight off the boot. He threw the arm up and gave the fist pump. That's 3 for the Brisbane Lions. We're only 7.5 minutes into this first quarter. They lead 3-1-19. Sydney Uni, just the 2 inside 50s for their stats, thanks to champion data so far this afternoon.
Yes, certainly what a start for the Brisbane Lions, and conversely for the students, they'll be scratching their heads a little bit and thinking, gee, what have we come up against here? This is some fantastic champagne football from the Brisbane Lions.
12 marks to none so far in this game. Brisbane Lions way, of course. So Sydney University on the back foot early, 7 inside 50s to 2.
They need to get a wriggle on. They've got Tom Young and Austin Lucy in the middle, have Sydney Uni, along with Zach O'Brien. So they've got the A-team in there. Tagliabue will go up against Archie Smith. The errant bounce, though, will be called back. Wow, what a start to the game by the Brisbane Lions. I was a little worried when Hamilman took that mark unopposed almost in the Brisbane Lions goal line when there were 3 Sydney Uni players that they might not be as switched on as they need to be at this stage. A secondary bounce will happen inside the centre circles. Austin Lucy comes up with the ball, the former Aspley player, former Essendon listed player. Another one in Tagliabue, taps it down to Young. He gets a handball away to O'Brien. Now he tumbles a punt towards right half forward. Bonnie, closely marked there by Jack Clayton. Well done, fisted it away. Brisbane should have the ball. Buick, oh no, tackled, holding the agate. Yes, you can't be doing that against the boundary line, Rowan Buick. So, Sydney Uni have the ball at right half forward. It's going to go to Tom Ayton.
So Ayton, still 85, 90 metres from goal. Coming out to meet it there was Tom Derricks. Couldn't take it with him. Bonnie, he's dispossessed. Ruben Williams feeds it off, finds Clay Beams. Back in the side this afternoon. On the lead there was Hamilman, and then back to Beams, and they get to half forward very easily. Here's close again. Work rate, going at it. Under pressure was the kick, went out of bounds on the full. It was a very good piece of play, bringing it from defence to attack for the Brisbane Lions. A lot of pressure on Sydney University to defend hard.
Yeah, the pace that they move that ball is going to be very hard for the students. If they keep this up and move it as quickly as that, they're going to be in all sorts of strife.
Mitch Thompson played on, kicked it long down the line. Big fist, and the ball spills at the front of the pack. It's picked up by Jansen. He's tackled by 3 Sydney Uni players. Tagliabue is the one that's last to get up. Manteed involved as well. So showing some intent there, the students. It's at left half forward for the Brisbane Lions, 75 metres from their goal, and it's slapped towards the boundary line. Can it be kept in? It can be. Michael Close picked it up, just tiptoeing that boundary line, floats it to the forward pocket, slapped over the line by Xavier Richards for the students, and be a throw in, left forward pocket for Brisbane, and they've started this on fire. 19 plays zip after 10 and a half of the first term.
Just noticed the Brisbane Lions forwards are playing real ducks and drakes with the Sydney Uni defence, pushing up and back inside that forward 50, forcing some matchup changes and a little bit of confusion. Ball back into play. Close tried to put it to the back, but Tagliabue brought it to the front. O'Brien just kicked it clear of the area, and it is deliberate, says the umpire. The intent, I think, was there, Bob.
Yeah, definitely. He didn't disguise it all that well, I didn't think, Zach O'Brien, and it just goes with the territory, doesn't it? They're under pressure. Every time they get the footy, they feel as though, even if it's inferred pressure, they feel as though they're under the pump.
So coming up with the free kick is Rowan Buick. In and out of the AFL side and the NEAFL side, 8 goals 3. Instead, he just decides to put it at the top of the square, looking for the tall timber. McInerney on that occasion couldn't quite come down with it. Dads, it eluded him. And here's Gillespie out of half back there. Oh. Misses his hand with the handball. That's the pressure that's on. Brisbane bringing it, although winning a free kick for a high ball or a high contact was Matt Wilson. So fortuitous somewhat, because I thought Brisbane were going to come away with it again. He gets up. And inside the centre square, Michael.
I was just saying, Kang, you're just showing that pace, and both teams really keen to get the ball on the outside and move it quickly from defence. It's a long kick inside 50. Manteed at the back and too easy at the front, the big fella in McInerney. A stellar season from him. Handball off now to Jack Clayton. He chips it forward to Clay Beams. 20 metres forward again. Campbell Walker. Still inside defensive 50. He's got a lead on. Finds him. Luke O'Sullivan. Could be a free kick. There it was. High contact. Luke O'Sullivan just outside defensive 50. Gets the ball back there from Matt Wilson. He wants to go across half back. It's a dangerous kick. Manteet's there as well, but Lions have it. Gets out to Jack Payne. He's got a lead down the outer side, and again finds Rowan Buick. He wants to go the 45 kick. That's a dangerous one. It bounces in the middle of the ground. It's picked up there by O'Sullivan. Now Clay Beams. Handball back to Clayton. They're mucking around with it here a bit, Brisbane, as they don't have any big movement up forward. Good pressure from Sydney Uni, and that's turned over. The ball hits the deck. The students have it through Manteet.
So he gave it straight up, straight to Clay Beams, and they put it inside forward 50, and there's Freeman. The tall timber of the Brisbane Lions is a real concern for Sydney Uni at the moment. We saw Close take one, Hamilman take one, and now Freeman. Contested marks inside forward 50.
Oh, yeah, definite worry for Tom Morrison and the coaching staff. They've been manhandled by the big, tall timber. McInerney down one end, and certainly the players that you just mentioned up forward, a real worry for the students.
He'll kick it, Freeman. From 42 metres, comes in, Gives it a bit of heave-ho, he likes it. He's used to doing the beach curls up at Noosa, but Jono Freeman uses the ample leg on this occasion to put through his first for the afternoon. That's 4 for the Lions, 4-1-25. Sydney Uni yet to score.
Well, have a go at that. We talked about the inclusions of Yaluko Sullivan, Jack Payne, Clay Beams, those lads bringing in the extra pace for when the ball gets on the outside. I was really impressed with the inclusion of Michael Close coming back in, but that tall timber across the board, Hamilman, McInerney, Close, and now Jono Freeman, they're just dominating up forward for them, Bob.
Certainly are, and as I mentioned, the coaching staff will be pulling their hair out as we speak, as the students, if they need a goal, they need one badly right this second.
And the big fella in Tom Derricks is sauntering around the centre circles. He wants to get involved against McInerney. He jumps into him and slaps it down in the path of O'Brien. It was a good bit of ruck work. O'Brien couldn't control it, attacked out of there now. Students get involved again. 3 Lions involved, and this isn't going absolutely anywhere. Tom Ayton was the one trying to extricate it for Sydney Uni. We'll have another ball up.
Loving the work of the academy players too for Brisbane. They're getting involved. They don't look nervous at all.
No, they're using the ball cleverly. Clayton now goes one way, then the other. Wheels around onto the right foot. Kicks it inside 50. Archie Smith at the back. Well done by Xavier Richards. Now roved by Clay Beams. He's tackled by Richards and loses the ball. Another set of handballs. McInerney to Clay Beams. Chips a pass and finds Campbell Walker, who plays on. He had all the time in the world, the young fella. But he just had that rush of blood to the head. One behind results. So 4-2-26 to Sydney Uni, yet to score.
Yeah, Clay Beams, is he dominating or what? He's probably had it 7 or 8 times already, and every time he's got it, he's hit a target. He's a real worry for the students at present.
And just a quick one, Campbell Walker, first blemish for season 2017 in front of the Sticks. He's kicked 7 straight up till there in 19 games. Ball back on the wing here. That was Hiscox, just gets it into the path. Stevenson, chain of handballs. Wilson just decided he was almost going to hit it up and then put it to Manteet. Manteet just flies it over the top. Can't get it. Bonnie now to Hinge. Hinge on the left foot. Dangerous kick across goals, but finds Keys there, who's pushed back and tried to help out. And defensively, they're just making Sydney Uni work a little bit harder and a little bit more errantly as Buick's got the ball.
Yeah, I agree with your comment about these academy players for Brisbane, Kanga. Quite composed for their relative experience and age as the contest goes to the outer side. Stuck underneath the ball there, Ben Sloan, another inclusion this week, and there'll be a ball up at left half back for Brisbane, leading this one by 26 points.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. I think they do their role, don't they? Mitch Hahn has asked them to do a role, and they're certainly doing that.
Sydney Uni now extract the ball. It's kicked towards half forward, and geez, how's that for a punch? Just straight over the boundary line. We'll have a throw in at the 50-metre arc at right half forward for Sydney Uni, who are desperate for a score after 17 minutes of the first term.
What a body that boy's going to finish up with when he becomes a man. Jack Payne, he looks like a man mountain. You put him next to blokes like Derricks, and he actually, they pale into insignificance.
He's played 4 games for the NEAFL side this year, and he's had a massive academy series. He picked up the Lions selection to play for the Allies, an invite for the National Draft Combine as well. Doing very well.
So Young got a quick little kick forward, didn't go the required distance. Now back to Zach O'Brien, who got it from Wilson, and that is almost a very good kick at goal. Just slid to the near side and registered the first score for Sydney Uni. Bring it back in, do Brisbane, and Buick with the ball, goes to the outer side, finds Cox.
And Cedric Cox just outside defensive 50, measures a pass, and it's well done to Hamilman, who's worked his way down the field. He wants to go back inside defensive 50 and goes to Jack Payne as well. Across goal, finds now Jack Clayton, who wants to go back. Dangerous kick. Oh, how's the beautiful silky control of Cedric Cox. Oh, he's got some silk about him, that boy. Rowan Buick at centre half back. Love watching Cedric Cox play, Bob.
Oh, he's a ripper, isn't he? Like, you know, first-year player, played probably 6 or 7 games at senior level. But, gee, as you mentioned, the silky skills are exciting for the Brisbane Lions supporters.
Jansen kicks it up in the Freeman direction, punched away from him. It was Hamilman, in fact. Ball hits the deck. That was a throw. Umpire spotted it. Free kick will go to Ryan Dadds for Brisbane. Sydney Uni at 6s and 7s at the moment as Dadds chips it inside. It was an ill-directed kick. And a free kick will come back to Sydney Uni. Their defensive efforts weren't in vain. It will go back to James Lonergan, who cops some high contact.
So Lonergan goes across the face, just finds his player in Stevenson before Ruben Williams was going to close down. Now to the ex-Aspley player in Jonathan Williams, goes out wide, still at half back, finds the former NEAFL MVP Tom Young, and then his kick was just smacked over the boundary line by Payne once again. He's going to be dangerous, as we said, when he grows up.
Yeah, he's certainly a big boy. Look, it's just the difference in movement of the footy has been the stark contrast, hasn't it? The students really struggling and going a little 15-metre chip kicks to get some touches. Lions just backing themselves and going hard and direct.
Tom Derrick, second time around, just got it going his way. Stevenson got the ricochet and the ball out of bounds. So we'll do it all again. On the Stanley Street side of the ground at the Gabba, early days, 25 points though the margin. The Brisbane Lions lead by in this first quarter. We've played 20 minutes.
So Smith over the top of his opposite number there in Derrick's. Rove by Zach O'Brien. Kicks it inside 50. Oh, juggling effort there. Liam Dawson. Very good defensive work. He's got Buick just in front of defensive goal. Buick again, aggressive kick. Finds Ruben Williams. Really using the ball well, Brisbane, as Ryan Dadds comes in and takes the mark on the NEAFL commentary wing. Sydney have set up a little bit better across half back there, so the Lions have to retreat inside defensive 50. Buick, then Eagles, and he goes right across to the other side of the field. There's that young man we're talking about in Jack Payne, part of the draft combine. A big chance to be drafted as well, as Ruben Williams has the ball. Got called to play on. Damien Bonney read it well. So Williams goes back to the opposite side of the field, finds Cedric Cox. The Lions just content to hold onto the pill at this stage, Kanga.
Yes, they are. Go down the wing, and that kick wasn't a good one. That's always the danger when you overpossess the ball. Eventually you're going to make a mistake, and that occasion was Hinge. So at half back, that's big Sam Tagliabue, the ruckman with the ball. He'll wind up on the left. It's back to the wing. Eagles is there, but in front was Dawson. Very good overhead, and that wasn't a great kick to him. Put Clay Beams under enormous pressure, and copping a high one was Thompson, and he'll win the free kick for Sydney University right in the middle of the Gabba as he goes out wide. Just chipping the ball forward, ends up with Jesse Derricks. Big unit he is, likes to hit the scoreboard. Kicks a little low, worm burner, and can only find Liam Dawson for the Lions.
It's 3 in a row intercept marks for Dawson, and Jacob Derrick says he's got to work a little bit better with regard to his use of the footy. But look, they've got all the answers at the moment. Even the slow play, the Lions are doing that better than the students.
Oh, Hamilman cleverly out of position, slapped it forward, gave it to Close. Close to handball to Clay Beams. Wheels back around, all the time in the world, and instructs as he does so. Says, slow down, Matthew Hamilman. So he does. Holds on to it. 22 and a half minutes gone to the first term. Lions do not want Sydney scoring at this stage, Sydney Uni. So it's Jack Clayton. Across the left half back, Ruben Williams. He's got a man on in the middle there. Let's see if he has a crack at it. No, he goes even further to the outer side. Liam Dawson. Former Aspley product. Several Aspley players in the lineup for both sides, in fact. Or former Aspley players. Now, Jack Clayton. Comes back in board. They are starting to finesse a little bit, and this is, I suppose, against what they were doing earlier on. That was looking like a bump ball, but it wasn't. The Lions will take it through Campbell Walker. This is really stagnant compared to the way they started the game.
Yeah, look, and I think it's caused by Sydney Uni putting some more players behind the footy, zoning up a bit more defensively, and really trying to strangle the Lions a little bit. But they're not. They're overusing it, but they're certainly winning possession at will.
Sirakoski got it from a chain of handballs. Jacob Derricks, I called him Jesse earlier a few times. They got nothing forward, so they decide to go laterally. Out in this Vulture Street side of the ground, Aiton inboard. Finds, on that occasion, Hebron. And his kick was touch as it found Williams. Williams just chips it up looking for Manteith, and he's got him, albeit a very tight angle he's going to have to kick this ball from. He's looking inboard. And now he might be starting to settle and think about actually having a ping at it. Looks like he might get around on the left here. He does. Opens up the angle, doesn't hit it flush. So it's up in the air. McInerney with the big fist. Going down. The Lions' defence was very good on that occasion as they just wrapped the ball up. A number of tacklers just picked it off and made it a stalemate 35 metres from goal.
You mentioned Lions' defence. It's been fantastic, hasn't it? They haven't let the wind through at the moment.
Exactly right, as McInerney versus Tagliabue. Beautiful tap by McInerney. Ball spills. Bonnie gets involved for Sydney Uni. Tackle by Eagles. Loses the ball. Little throw out from John O'Freeman. It worked. Ben Keys. He was hassled there by Tom Derricks. He gets through that trouble. Feigns inside and then goes long down the line. Good contest there from Rowan Buick. Over the top, fisted the ball away from William Sirikowski, and it's on behind play between Mitch Thompson and Ben Keys. Just a little bit of a push me, shove you. And coming in to remonstrate there, Jack Dimmery as well for Sydney Uni, but the ball's thrown in just forward of the wing. Archie Smith misses it. It bounces back towards Dimmery it was. Gets it back inboard to Stevenson, pressured as he kicked, and Ruben William will easily swallow it up for the Brisbane defence.
Ruben William brims it out. Close. Just grabbed it. It was a close call. Now he's got room to move. Takes it bounce to the middle of the Gabba. Goes inside forward 50 and finds a target. Too easy through the middle for the Brisbane Lions. And getting up with the footy, that is Rowan Buick.
Work rate, wasn't it? He was over here. He was the one that did the beautiful spoil, as you called it, Pricey, over here on this far wing. The ball flipped over, and within 20 seconds, he's on the far side. He's probably run 100 metres to be a target, and it was a bit of a shocking mongrel punt from close, but hit the target.
That was mark number 8. This is possession number 11 already. He's already got 1 for the afternoon, and that's 2. 3 rebound 50s as well. So he's been down in defence helping, pushing forward, putting pressure on, and now hitting the scoreboard multiple times in the first quarter as the Lions move to 5-2-32. Sydney Uni, 1 point, 26 and a half minutes gone in the first.
Yeah, Rowan Buick showing all of his 100 AFL games of experience there. As Bob called it, he had to make at least a 100-metre sprint to get over to the other side. So he is working very hard. And again, we called it early. Michael Close coming back into this side, he does a lot of that running and setting up of play. He is a very unselfish tall forward who also comes down the corridor as well.
They've been all over them, the Brisbane Lions, early.
Absolutely, as Archie Smith slaps it down. Old Clay Beams comes out with the clearance. Inside 50, punched away from Buick there. It was by Hebron. Ball hits the deck and the Lions have got the numbers again. Clay Beams wheels back inboard. Now kicks it long. Inside 50 towards McInerney. Well done there by Xavier Richards. And he backs up with another great tackle. Takes the Lions player over the line in Ben Keys. It'll be a throw-in in the left forward pocket. Again, the Lions are pressing. They're 31 points in front. We played 27.5 minutes of the first term here on NEAFL TV. Ripping preliminary final to start with.
So the Lions attack. Smith just lays it down, looking for his midfielders. Here is the young man in Walker. He was going nowhere, though. And wrapped up, Zach O'Brien, just reacquainting himself with a few of the Lions players as well.
I think it was Archie that got him earlier on that far wing, so probably just saying hello to each other.
Plenty of players around the contest again, so I don't think it'll go anywhere as the umpire crosses his arms.
Just another little bit of byplay with Archie Smith and Zach O'Brien off the ball just in that exchange as well.
Obviously great mates they were at the Brisbane Lions. Smith again. There's O'Brien. Gets a handball with no great purpose. Clay Beams wraps it up. Wilson applies the pressure. Good work there by Sydney Uni, but the kick was errant under the Brisbane Lions pressure, and Clay Beams, he can load up again, Michael.
It's a long kick inside 50. Packer players, and close.
Freeman.
No, it was Freeman, it was. The 34 just rose above the pack and took the mark again. The tall timber of the Brisbane Lions worrying the Sydney Uni defence.
Yeah, just read it better in the air, didn't he? And he was a Monty to take that mark, the way he read the flight of the ball, and his opponent certainly had no idea, Barton, as to where the drop of the ball was. And the way their confidence levels are up, you wouldn't put it past John O to slot this one through.
He kicked the 4th goal of the game right on the siren for quarter time. He can really make the Sydney Uni coaching staff worried. And what a beautiful kick for John Freeman, who kicked his 2nd. And the Lions have steamrolled Sydney Uni at quarter time, 6-2-38. Sydney Uni, the solitary point. So it's a 37-point margin at quarter time. Boys, they've wiped them in the first quarter.
Well, the mental scars, I think, are going to be interesting for Sydney Uni now. We know they've tried to get to the well or go to the well and come up short in a number of preliminary finals thus far. What answers are they going to have? I think the Brisbane Lions, their tails are right up. They are all over them. And the Sydney Uni defenders particularly look under pressure, particularly those guarding the talls in Hamilman, Close, Freeman, and the resting ruckman, whether it be Smith or McInerney. And the damage is being done by Beams and Buick and Keys through the middle of the ground as well.
You've hit it right on the head, Kanga. Their midfield's on top, their ruckmen are on top, their defence is on top. I can't think of a Sydney Uni player that's winning their position at the moment. And look, they've got a lot of experience down there. Barton, Sirakoski, got some younger boys, Barron Hay and Hebron, but they're right under the pump, and they've been going to the huddle saying, what is going on?
Well, 37 points is the margin at quarter time. The Lions, they've been rampant, steamrolling University early. We're going to see what the students can come back with after they get the messages from their coach, Tom Morrison, and we'll take a break as well. We'll be back with you soon.
And welcome back to the Gabba for NEAFL preliminary final. It is the Brisbane Lions versus Sydney Uni, streaming live on NEAFL TV. Michael Price, Mark Kennedy calling all of your action, and Bob Betty with the special comments here. And at quarter time, well, 37 points the margin. The Brisbane Lions 6-2-38. Really on top of the Sydney Uni side, one solitary behind. Boys, it was a dominant first quarter from the Brisbane Lions. What can Sydney Uni do to answer the challenge, Mark Kennedy and Bob Batty?
Well, look, yeah, it's gonna be really hard work for Sydney Uni to get back into it, but you just never know. Tom Morrison obviously got stuck in at quarter time, and let's see what happens.
So Archie Smith got the kick from the restart, didn't go very far, got punched Sydney Uni's way. Lucy comes out to meet it hard. Young, he got the ball. Now a little bit of space, not sure where to go. Handball was battered down, but he might get it back here. Under pressure then, haven't got any great structure. O'Brien, he couldn't get anything effective away. Jacob Derricks, he was on hands and knees. Archie Smith, he's applying the pressure as a ruckman, does it well. Wilson can't get it going forward too far. Now they find a bit of room. It's Williams with the kick, and they worked hard for it. They kept going, and Sydney Uni, through Jono Williams, finally gets him a reward for effort.
It wasn't pretty, was it, Kanga? It was, as you called, Brisbane laying tackle after tackle and putting the pressure on. No clean football, but it sort of snuck out the back, really, to Jonathan Williams, and beautiful finish. It was a bit of a mongrel pump, but it had the right trajectory and bounced through for a badly needed goal for the students, and who knows, it might be the scoring end, Kanga.
Well, they did scunge that one, and full points to Tom Young there, who just kept going. I reckon he had 3 disposals that were basically stymied and ended up just pressing the ball forward. Well done to Sydney Uni. And a little bit going on forward of the ball is Tom Derricks and Matt Eagles just pushing each other in the goal square as Archie Smith gets his own clearance now. It's semi-smothered, picked up by Ben Keys. He gives it to the run of Cedric Cox. A handball over the top to Clayton, loses the handle, toes it forward. Young right over the top of him, and it looks like Sydney Uni have come out to try and get into a couple of the younger Brisbane Lions in this second quarter, and that'll be a free kick, and that was a little silly. Somebody put into the fence? No.
It was Tom Young got put into the fence. Tom Young put Josh Clayton into the fence.
You could actually hear it from the other side of the ground. So,
and 50 boys.
And well, you see, there's trying to rough up the younger opposition, and there's stepping over that line, and then there's being downright ridiculous in the situation you are. And that was ridiculous from a player of his experience. Now, there's more going on in the middle of the field. There's umpires on the field, emergency umpires. Now, there has been another whistle in the middle. What's going on here?
Just a blood rule.
Just a blood rule. Okay.
Matt Eagles.
So it's all happening in the start of the second quarter, but the most important part is Josh Clayton's going to come in and have a shot at goal after receiving a 50-metre penalty. He comes in from 15 metres, slide angle, bangs it straight through the middle. So the good work of Sydney Uni, all undone by a little bit of ill discipline. 7-2-44 to Sydney Uni's 1-1-7, back to the 37-point quarter-time margin after 3 minutes.
Well, that's a bit of a coach killer, isn't it? Like, I'm sure Tom Morrison would have spoken to the troops and really demanded from them that they really put their bodies on the line, attack the footy and get their bodies in first the start of this quarter. They did that to get that first goal, and then they did some silly stuff, and it come from one of their more experienced players, which is the real disappointing aspect of that finish. The important thing for Brisbane was that they answered it straight away, and the goal had to be kicked. It wasn't a lay-down misère for Josh Clayton, and he finished it off nicely. So that'll do his confidence a world of good as well.
9 goals for Josh Clayton from his 18 games in the NEAFL so far this year. Just re-establish that margin. No winner of the ruck. Tagliabue will follow it up though. Dispossessed. Working hard there is Dimmery. Comes up with the ball, but not before the umpire said give it to me and we'll go again. That's right beside the centre circle here. Archie Smith just threw Tagliabue out of the way, then had his kick smothered, just toes it, looking for the advantage of a teammate. Buick it is. Gets it off to Keys. He goes deep inside forward 50. McInerney. Just big extended. And the Sydney Uni defender in Darcy Barron-Hay just didn't have a chance against a 204 centimetre reach stretch of the best and fairest in the NEAFL for the Brisbane Lions, Oscar McInerney.
Yeah, I probably gave him an extra 4 centimetres in that first quarter, saying he's 208, but I'm sure Barron-Hay thinks he's that tall at the moment.
He comes in, and that's another one. That's 25 for the season for Oscar McInerney. He's been very good, the former Casey player from the VFL. He adds the 8th for the Brisbane Lions, 8-250. Sydney Uni, 117.
How's Tom Morrison feeling right now? What do you do, Bob Batty? You've got this situation where this game's getting right out of hand and we've played only 5 minutes of the second quarter. What's the first thing to do?
Well, you've got to trust your players, don't you? And I'm sure that they've got that real, that sort of dimension that they really work hard for their coach, Morrison. He's been a great stalwart for the club and been a great coach this year for the students. They really need to believe, don't they? That they don't at the moment. But who knows?
Oh, put a chain around this bloke, I reckon. Clay Beams, who is just racking them up. He kicks it to right half forward. O'Sullivan controls. Back in board. Clayton now hooks it around inside 50. Big fly coming up. Oh, it could have been a free kick at the back. Michael Close. He hooks it around to the top of the square. It bounces awkwardly for Sydney Uni. Hiscox, can he do anything? He can. That's a beautifully weighted kick to Jacob Derricks at right half back. So the students out of trouble for the moment.
That was his first touch for the day, Jack Hiscox as well, the former Swan. He's down the line. Good punch on that occasion from Hinge as Bonnie. He won't die wondering in terms of a little bit of agitation. He is a dead set pest.
He's a diggers, no worries about that.
Got a bit of the Fryer Tuck hairdo starting to evolve as well, does Damien Bonnie.
Yeah, look, he certainly as a youngster with Morningside Footy Club, he had that irritation of the opposition and he's carried that through into NEAFL footy right now.
Loves a good sledge. Very good player though. It was Archie Smith got it down. Lions for Brisbane. Just putting the saddle on Zach O'Brien. And they're going nowhere, so the umpire will ball it up yet again. Taglubu and Smith. That one to Smith again. Hiscox is there, immediately wrapped up by Walker. We'll have yet another stoppage. Again, nice warm day out there as well. Beautiful conditions for it. You'd have to say it's probably about 23, 24 degrees out there. As O'Brien just gets away, but was handball under pressure. Eventually gets to Lucy. Lucy's got to look inside forward 50. Doesn't hit his target though. So it allows Eagles. Well, there's pressured by Bonnie. He does well. Oh. Slips a handball out to Williams. It goes over the top and it'll be an easy goal to Gillespie. And the students get their second. And that gives them a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, great work there from well, a number of players there, but O'Brien to win that first clearance, I think that was the important one. He was tackled just as he was going to get rid of it, gave the handball over, and it was good follow-up and great hands there from Damien Bonnie. We just spoke about his irritation. Well, they'll be irritated if he keeps handballing like that. That was very constructive, and Gillespie's on the scoreboard. So, look, they need that could give them a spark. They need probably 2 or 3 in a row, and as you said, Michael, they need to put a bit of a chain on Clay Beams and Ben Keys in the in that centre bounce area.
Well, they've got an opportunity to do so again here. Austin Lucy's up against Clay Beams. You got Ben Keys up against the very good player in Tom Young. Lucy gets involved at the foot of the pack, picked up by Young, scrubs it forward in the Bonnie direction. Now coming back Buick, courageous but doesn't take the ball. A deft tap, cleverly done by Aiton, gives it now to Bonnie. Diving mark there. Play on, says the umpire. It was a bump ball.
The umpire from the central part of the ground has actually had a better look at it and he's actually
overruled.
called it a mark.
Okay, well, I thought it was a mark to the naked eye, but the umpire that was very close to him looked like it hit the ball, but hit the ground, sorry, a bump ball. But Zach O'Brien's going to have a shot at goal 20 metres out on a sharp angle. This could just be what the students were after.
And more worries for the Brisbane Lions. Mitch Hinge looks like he's put the shoulder out, I think. It's either dislocated or an elbow or something there. He's really struggling.
Well, Zach O'Brien comes in. Kicked 4 goals last week against Aspley in the elimination final. He's done well here. The 3rd goal for the students. The Lions, 8-2-50 to Sydney Uni, 3-1-19, and we played 9.5 of the second term on NEAFL TV.
Well, just a little bit of momentum starting to creep in for Sydney Uni, and not before time as well, because they had been monstered up to this point, and now they've worked it back. They've just snuck a goal back from that quarter time margin that was 37 points, and now it's 31, but you just feel there's a bit more energy around them.
Yeah, look, you mentioned a few of their players. Bonnie, Hiscox, Lucy hadn't touched the footy hardly in the first quarter. They're starting to get their hands on the footy, and they really need the quick players like Bonnie and Hiscox and Lucy to really run and create some danger for the Lions.
Came off the toe of Tom Young, but found Buick. So Buick kicks a nice little worm burner, finds Walker. You could hear the thud off his chest. Right in the middle of the Gabba, just lobs it up high. Why wouldn't you with the tall timber? Freeman, but in front was Tom Derrick, so well done to him. The kick wasn't good though, puts under pressure. Well done by the Brisbane Lions, and winning a free kick will be the young man. As Jack Clayton, he's been very good in season 2017 for the Lions as part of the Lions Academy.
Yeah, had to overcome a shoulder problem in their academy series early in the year as part of the AIS AFL Academy, or AFL Academy. He's had 2 years in that, and this is an important kick for the young boy.
So he kicks it from 46 metres, doesn't get a hold of it. And it was Tom Derrick who took an easy mark in defence.
That was among as Ryan Hebron, who was very relieved with that mongrel kick. He was the one who gave the free kick away. Kicks it long down the line. Oh, a big fly up and an unrealistic attempt from Alistair Gillespie. Free kick to Rowan Buick. Handball now to Ruben William. Kicks it long to a dangerous spot. Sydney Uni with the numbers. Oh, but with the numbers, they didn't count on the 2 metre. Oscar McInerney grabbing it with 3 grabs. 3 Sydney Uni defenders and only 1 hand. And Oscar McInerney took the mark.
Well, you keep singing his praises, Pricey, and no wonder. He is an excitement machine, this Beanpole from Casey Scorpions. He going back for his second right now.
He comes in from 20 metres. Oh, he's made the goal umpire do a fair bit of work. It is a goal, though. Oscar McInerney in superb form in season 2017 in the NEAFL. The Lions 9-2-56 to Sydney Uni 3-1-19. It's back to 37 points. That was the margin we had at quarter time.
We just had no right to take that mark, really, did he? 3 Sydney Uni defenders around him, and surely you would have thought, coming from all angles there, they would have been able to get a fist on it. But I suppose what was also troubling, if they did get a fist on it, they would have left a couple of Brisbane Lions smalls floating around. So one-on-one, those forwards are really troubling Sydney Uni.
Look, I was just thinking, Tom Derrick's there, back there, took 2 marks. It's the first time that the Brisbane Lions forwards have been outmarked, the 2 forwards, and then bang, it comes in again, and the big lurch has just taken one with the 1 fang. So fantastic effort from McInerney, and the Lions still cock a hoop.
21-14 inside 50s. Archie Smith gets the clearance. Inside forward 50 is Jansen, up towards a couple of more bits of tall timber. It was O'Sullivan around the place and throwing the arms up prematurely, I might add.
He sucked me in.
It might have been Sloan.
He liked it as soon as he hit it, didn't he?
Might have been. It's O'Sullivan, in fact. So it's like the jockey celebrating a bit too early across the line. After he gets beat.
Yeah, Roy Higgins. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's taken it back there, Bob Batty, the encyclopedia of Australian sport as well as Queensland footy. As William Sirakowski gets the ball out. Oh, big fly again. The ball gets slapped over the boundary line. Gee, where's the Brisbane Lions? They have answered the challenge. Sydney Uni came out, kicked the first goal of the second term after being goalless in the first, and Lions answered with a couple, then Sydney Uni with a couple, then the Lions back with another one. 14 minutes gone, second term. Archie Smith double hands it forward to Clay Beams. They have to put him in a box or something. He's just racking them up. As Sydney Uni now have an opportunity to get out of the pack. It's taken again by Brisbane. Archie Smith to Ruben William. He's tackled there by Wilson. Ball spills. Sydney Uni again can't get through with Stevenson stuck underneath. The umpire's going to ball it up. No, he's not. He's going to allow it to keep going. Tom Young just towed it out. Zach O'Brien fends off, escapes the traffic, and then puts a pass on for a teammate who did very well in Hebron to get the ball back. He got it to Lonergan, then back to Hebron, and he might be able to hit a teammate. Will it bounce nicely? It does. Well done to Sirakowski. Puts it forward. Sydney Uni just not hitting their targets as Ruben William puts the pressure on, and they should be able to get out here, Kanga, and they do.
They do. It was John O'Williams, but straight to Rowan Buick, who just came on the ground. Now to Josh Clayton. Out wide is Cedric Cox. He'll try and get around Wilson. Under pressure, just feeds the handball over the top. Clay Beams, quick hands. Gets it back to Josh Clayton. One-on-one up contest again, and there he is. I think they put a bit of araldite on his hands because he sticks them out in front of the body with the reach in front of a quality defender. An AFL player in Xavier Richards, that's a great piece of work.
Oh, yeah, well, we just spoke about his praises, and look, his confidence would be sky high right as we speak, and he could go back for his third goal of the day.
Named as the best and fairest for the Brisbane Lions in the NEAFL competition. And you give a bloke a rap, and he let you down. He sliced it off the side of the boot. One behind, only just snuck in, and Sydney Uni escaped.
It's a long way to drop the ball down, isn't it? It's ball drop. Wasn't a good one there.
And that wasn't a great kick from Xavier Richards as well. Jared Jansen gets a good tackle from Lonergan. No, it slipped up. Handball now over to O'Sullivan. Let's go from 40, O'Sullivan. It floats wide. One behind. So the Lions peppering, 59 plays 19, 40 points the margin as the uni students bring it back in.
Well, Sirakowski, that's it out. Thompson, he's under pressure. He's gone.
What a tackle.
He just sweated on him. And that was Sloan. The boy from Redland.
Gee, these academy kids are really doing their role, performing their role beautifully, Bob Batty.
Yeah, certainly is, and it speaks volumes of the academy program up here. Not only the Brisbane Lions here on show, but also the Gold Coast Suns. We watched them last week with about 8 or 9 academy players put NT Thunder to the sword. So good for the programs.
Does play with Redland as well. He's kicked a bag of 5 at various times this year. Put it right to the goal square. Plenty of players around there. It's under real pressure. Trying to work it through. Trying to con the umpire, I suppose. There was Ben Keys. Couldn't do so. Was touched. And now Sydney Uni. I'll bring it back in and come away with it, Michael.
41 points. Oh, intercepted there. Jared Jansen plays on and another behind. So that's a run of 5 straight behinds to the Brisbane Lions. Boy, oh boy, the Sydney Uni side under a heap of pressure as the captain, Lewis Stevenson, gets around Jansen, kicks it long down the line. Derrick's pushed out of it by Eagles. No free kicks as the umpire. Eagles butters up. Handball now. Gets it over to Luke O'Sullivan. 45 kick. It's a dangerous ball, but it gets played nicely. Clayton kicks it inside 50. Over the head of McInerney, and that's no mean feat. He's 237 centimetres.
And growing.
And growing. It bounces over the boundary line.
We see then Xavier Richards actually just worked him under the ball with his body, with his chest, just to try and make sure that he couldn't have it in front of him where he can use his reach. The ball back into play. They'll try to take it to the back. They do so, but it's Tom Young who got there. And Tom Young was the one that was holding Corey Lyons.
They're worried about the pace of the young Brisbane Lions midfielders and defenders, methinks. Just
good work for Corey Lyons. Like he's had sort of a, not a run with, but probably a bit of a tagging role on Tom Young because he's one of their instigators. And same with Jansen. Jansen's done a good job as well in that midfield area.
He lines him up from 45 metres and pulls it to the near side. So it continues that run of 6 behinds now in a row as Lewis Stevenson has the ball for University, Sydney Uni.
So he feigns to go left and then comes back on the right. Kicks it long towards Derricks. He's got Dawson with him. Dawson spoiled well. Now Eagles. Dawson butters back up. Gets a handball forward. Lonergan comes in. Loses it. Walker gets it forward. But now Sydney Uni have it through Manteet. He chips it forward. Austin Lucy, former Aspley Premiership player. Forward of centre wing. Chips it forward to the runner John O'Williams, who was also in that Aspley Premiership side. Back to Lucy, so they're waxing a bit. Nobody approaching him, so he runs in, just chips it to right half forward and finds Jacob Derricks. Needs to get more involved in the game. Kicked a couple of goals last week, ironically against Aspley. Now 70 metres from goal, kicks it long to the pocket. Big pack of players fly, and it's a nice juggling mark there taken by Archie Smith. The tall timber of Brisbane are absolutely serving it up to their opposition.
They're dominating really in the air, aren't they? You mentioned the marks early in the first quarter, Kanga. I think it was 10 or 11 to 0. I'd hate to know the figures now.
We'll get to them in just a moment as Lyons gets the ball through the middle of the ground. Freeman, who was involved earlier to compete, now goes inside, then goes outside with the hands. Now to Beams, and Beams hit it right on the chest of Matthew Hamilman. And the Brisbane Lions, as they just transport the ball from defence to attack, they've been very precise and very calculated.
Yeah, it was beautiful movement of the footy. It was quick, it was precise, it was long, and gave the students' defence no chance. And with his confidence up, Hamilman, he is a chance from this distance.
He's got one this afternoon, 40 for the year, matches his number, and that is 41 for the year, 2 for this afternoon. The Lions, they break the streak of behinds to kick a goal, and they extend their lead out to 49 points now. 10-8-68, Sydney University, 3-1-19, and we have played 21 minutes of this second quarter.
That elastic band is just about break, I think, with the students. They've given their all in this second quarter. They've tried everything. They've been in their face. They've worked hard. Around the contest, they've nullified a few of their stars like Beams and Keys, but it hasn't worked. If they had kicked any of those 6 points earlier where they could have easily been goals, I think it'd be nearly curtains already.
Yep, now they had a kick straight. You're dead right, Bob. As McInerney gets the ruck tap out and the clearance, kicks it to half forward. Students with the ball now. They'll be able to set up with a chain of handballs. Oh, just running away there was Barton, and no talk from his teammates. He had a bounce and was chased down by Buick. Buick now hits Keys. Oh, to the run of Clayton from 45. He lets go, one behind, peppering the Brisbane Lions. They've kicked 4 goals, 7 in this term. 10-9-69, now 50 points the margin as Sydney bring the ball back in. Hebron with the ball.
Now to Hiscox. He loves to run. Very good endurance he does. He'll need it this afternoon. Bonnie just about to be crunched but gets his kick away. Up towards Young. Just dropped it. Manteet, he'll be there first, but just on hands and knees now, gets it back to Young. Looking for Hiscox. He followed it up well. Good endurance, as we said. Curls the ball nicely around for a goal. Good follow-up work there from Jack Hiscox. Sees Sydney University kick their 4th goal and narrow the margin to 44, 4-1-25. The Lions, 10-9-69. 23 minutes gone in this second quarter.
Yeah, repeat running, wasn't it? Good running. You mentioned his endurance base. He is very quick. He got that ball in the back pocket and kept running and running. Wasn't rewarded initially with the give, but when the ball came out the back, it was good hands to get the ball into safe hands, and that was a lovely finish on the run from Hiscox. A very good skill player for the Sydney University, and they need 3 or 4 of those types of players to really have an outstanding second half to have a chance in this game.
So Zach O'Brien leads the students with 13 disposals. John Williams with 11. Tom Young with 10. Marks overall 62-20 to answer your question, Bob. Lions way.
As Lucy gets the clearance for Sydney Uni. Inside 50. Good body work from Eagles. Got his opponent out of the way. Zach O'Brien misses the ball. Picked up there by Ruben Williams. Tackle was actually Clay Beams tackled around the legs, much to the protests of Jono Williams. But Clay Beams again, how's he going, Kanga, with his stats? He must be collecting his own personal stash.
Well, this will be number 19, 5 inside 50s to go with it as well.
What a monster kick down the outer side. He's been instrumental in this game. Well done there to Derricks. Got the handball away, but it's picked up there by Corey Lyons. Now, chain of handballs ends up with Ben Keys. The run of Cedric Cox has to get back to Keys. Keys floats one across half back. Matthew Eagles now opens it up. Manseat sort of corrals him a bit and puts him under pressure. Well done. So Eagles has to lob it up to half forward. Freeman actually beat a couple. Beat two. Beat three. Jono Freeman got the handball back to Cedric Cox. It's going to go back inside 50. Well done there by Lonergan. He got a fist to the ball. Campbell Walker tackled. Now it's Cedric Cox. He unloads from 45. Hamilman keeps it in. Sydney Uni have got the ascendancy, and a tackle from Hamilman caused the turnover. Well done, Matthew. Hamilman did not give up on that ball. Brought it back in, laid the tackle that put the pressure on, and the Brisbane Lions are going to have another shot at goal. It's with Ryan Dadds, 20 metres out directly in front.
Oh, yeah, Dad's Army. He'd be happy with that one. It was great work from Hamilman, but also from the other boys in O'Sullivan and Campbell Walker as he gone bang, and that's another one, 50-point margin.
Wow, 11 goals, 975, 4-1-25. Now, when it's not your day, it is not your day. A shocking pounce, a couple of Sydney Uni defenders. Hamilman drags it back in. They get the ball, and he just drops them.
Well, Ryan Hamilman, he just said Happy Father's Day to Dads, didn't he?
Fabulously.
Well,
that'll do.
Yes, but Ryan Dad's terrific. You've got to be in the right spot at the right time, but Hamilman, the way he tapped the ball back in, applied the pressure, magnificent.
Look, you mentioned that those academy players just do the little things, don't they? Walker, O'Sullivan 2 or 3 times involved there, and Dad's on the end of it there, but it was the great work from Matthew Hamilman.
So the margin out to 50 points, the half century. Weren't expecting this. Archie Smith now to Clay Beams, or expecting him to get it some more this afternoon. Inside forward 50, Hamilman was there again. And it was Barton forced to defend on that occasion. Sort of thinking, I said to you at the break off air, guys, that Tim Barton usually plays that running half back. He's been forced to really man up this afternoon. It's caused a bit of imbalance. Ball back into play. Tagliabue. There is the big fella in Richards, and the ball just kicked forward by Brisbane, and only the minor was never online. Extend the margin to 51.
5 goals, 8 in the second term to the Brisbane Lions. They could have put this one completely and utterly to bed if it wasn't already. Tom Ayton takes the mark for Sydney Uni. It's a dangerous kick. The ball's brought down the ground. Now it's chipped in front of Damien Bonney. It bounces nicely for him. Coming at him was Eagles. Bonney slapped it forward, and Derricks was taken high. It'll be a free kick. And he's very, very slow to get up, the big fella, and Tom Derricks. He scratches the head, checks for any claret coming out, nothing doing. Zach O'Brien might be calling for a handball here, or a little chip pass. He's just floating around the area anyway, looking for it.
Good news to the Lions. Mitchell Hinge looks as though they've put that hinge back on the shoulder, and he's back out there for the Lions.
Derricks from 45. That's a nice looking kick from the big man. It just stays in and then goes up and pushes Matthew Eagles over on the mark. Zach O'Brien gives him one while he's on the ground. That was a cheapie, Zach O'Brien.
And a free kick from the restart going Brisbane's way too.
As it should be. Bloke was laying flat in his back and he just gave him one while he was down there. Cheap shot, and deservedly so. A free kick to Brisbane from the restart. Brisbane defenders don't like it very much. But Sydney Uni with their 5th goal. 11-10-76 to Sydney Uni 5-1-31. 35 points the margin. 45 points the margin, I should say.
The disappointing aspect of that is, again, they've just kicked a lovely goal. Their confidence levels are going up, and then they give away a silly free kick.
Archie Smith kicks it long. That was Barton there in the way. Had front spot. And just bottled it up nicely. Goes out wide, finds Jacob Derricks. So still at half back, kicks it over the top. Finds, I was going to say finds Hebron. Well, it found him. He just couldn't find it. And that's an elementary error. And it just, again, it just sucks the life out of you a little bit when you're just trying to get a little bit of momentum. There's a free kick off the ball. And
guess
it's
who
going
got it?
Zach O'Brien's way this time.
This could unravel into a bit of an ugly thing at the moment. Zach O'Brien is he's a bit of a diggers himself. And he's been heavily involved, and the Lions boys just starting to unravel around him as well.
So Xavier Richards, he tried to swallow it and couldn't. But they're going to get out of it here, I think. Hiscox, he'll use his leg speed. Has to go on his left. Kick wasn't a good one. Lucy misses it. Wilson comes through on the second bite of the cherry. Now to O'Brien. And then back to Wilson. Feigns. I'm not sure what sort of a handball that was, but it was play on. Aiton. And now inside, it was Stevenson. Back to O'Brien, kicks it long. Eagles with the big spoil. A little bit of purpose in that.
Oh.
Closes there, spins out of it. Gets his kick away to half back. And taking a nice mark was Sirakoski. Plays on quick, over the head of Bonnie. And it'll bounce harmlessly out of bounds. A little bit of feeling in amongst this as the crowd that's at the Gabba here. Just watching this unfold between Derricks and Eagles down at full forward.
Yeah, Bo Derricks and where Eagles Dare are having a little bit of a staring contest there. I don't know who won it, but he can certainly, Matt Eagles can point to the scoreboard. That's who's winning it.
Yep, throw in, right forward pocket. Tagliabue double hands it down and straight into the path of Archie Smith. Chips it over the top, does Archie Smith, and that's a good effort there by Jack Clayton. Taken down. It was Hebron who actually went on down on hands and knees and gave it back to Xavier Richards. Kicks it inside 50. Could have been a free kick going there. Corey Lyons did well to hold the ball up and then dish it off to Clayton. Big looping handball over to right half back. Finds Rowan Buick. He's got a leader there in Dads. It bounces for him. Dads to the run of Clay Beams. They're moving it quickly down the outer side. Hamilman's on the commentary box side, just floating down nicely inside forward 50. He's got Jacob Derricks running with him now. Kicks inside there. Freeman was held back and then took the big leap. And it was a nice mark in front there. Well done there by Tim Barton, the vice-captain for the Sydney Uni side, as they should get out of defensive 50 here with Zach O'Brien.
Two of their prime movers, Stevenson and O'Brien involved there. Now Hebron. Half-back dangerous kick, but Wilson's good enough to make ground to grab it. Inboard to Young. It's on defensive 50. The runner Stevenson. They look to bring it through. Handball over the top. Well done there. That was Thompson. Now to Brain. Not sure where to go. Just has one short. Wilson drops it. O'Brien was running past, but got there too early in the finish. Wilson again. Now back to Brain. Just lobs it up. Eagles. Had his name written all over it at half back, and now Cox can repel.
Cox over to the right back pocket, finds Clay Beams, who's just brought his own footy today. Chips it to right half back, and Josh Clayton takes the mark. He wants to go back inside 50. Why not give it to Beams? He's collecting possessions now like my wife does on a shopping trip through Chermside. Corey Lyons still inside defensive 50. Now it's a long kick down the outer side. Pack of players. Jono Freeman nicely spoiled at the front of the pack there. And a good tackle taken over the line there from Austin. Lucy has absolutely buried the young fella in Campbell Walker. And there'll be a throw in on the outer side between the two benches. The Lions are leading this one by 45 points late in the second term.
We could see the players on the Sydney Uni bench really appealing for the free kick. Brain. Dimmery there. And he's just pushed over the boundary line. So we'll have a throw in right there. Players, once again, continue to acquaint themselves.
You mentioned the player Brain. I reckon that's the first time I've noticed him is the last 2 or 3 minutes. He's hardly touched the footy, and he's been one of their better players in recent weeks.
That one, as the siren sounds. Well, the margin at quarter time was 37 points. It's now out to 45. Brisbane kicked 5 goals, 8 in that quarter. To Sydney University, at least they hit the scoreboard. They kicked 5 straight. But there's lots of work to do for the students. And what messages will Tom Morrison be giving them, Bob, at half-time?
Look, they, as you say, they kicked 5 goals each that quarter. Luckily, the Brisbane Lions monstered a few up forward that they probably should have kicked in retrospect. But look, a better quarter from the students, but what I didn't like about that quarter was that a few brain fades that they had when they had chances to really impact the scoreboard and got the Lions back with a real decent margin. So, look, there's something to work with there for the students. Hopefully they can show a lot more of that in this second half, but full credit for the Brisbane Lions. That's a great half of footy from just about everyone on the park for them.
Well, half-time it is. 45 points the margin. Sydney Uni with it all to do. The Brisbane Lions, they'd be content with their lot in the first half. They have been dominant at various points in time. We'll be back after the break with the second half here. It's preliminary final day at the Gabba.
And welcome back to a sun-drenched Gabba for NEAFL TV preliminary final, Brisbane Lions versus Sydney Uni. It's Michael Price and Mark Kennedy calling all of your action, and the Encyclopedia of Queensland Football in Bob Batty with the special comments. At quarter time, the Brisbane Lions led by 37 points, and at half time, 11-10-76 to 5-1-31. They lead by 45 points. It was all the Brisbane Lions in that first term. Bob Batty, their tall timber, and their young players all did the job on Sydney Uni.
Yeah, hard to find a weak link, wasn't it, in that half of footy for the Brisbane Lions. I'm sure Mitch Hahn would be very pleased with their efforts. And Sydney Uni, well, I think they left it in the change rooms in the first quarter. They had a crack in the second, but giving them a big start, they only... I think they were still worse than what they were at quarter time.
Yeah, look, they're right on the money, aren't they? The Brisbane Lions at the moment. Leading possession getters Clay Beams, 23 disposals. Ryan Buick has 16. 12 to Keys, 11 to Josh Clayton, Cox and Archie Smith. And for the students, 17 to Zach O'Brien, 11 apiece to William Stevenson and Young.
And it's Archie Smith versus Tagliabue. Archie Smith gets the first tap out. Zach O'Brien gets down first, extracts the ball, gives it to Young. Now it's kicked out of the middle. It was John O'Williams. It bounces in front of Eagles. He's got Derricks on his hammer. Nice tackle from Derricks as Eagles gets the ball over the boundary line. Umpire says that will be a free kick to Sydney Uni.
No, I think it's a throw in.
A throw in. I thought he was gesticulating that it was going to be insufficient intent from Matthew Eagles, but he was waving his arms around traffic cop style.
I think there was a lot of intent from Tom Derricks is what he went over to discuss with him.
Oh, right, the intent on putting Matthew Eagles' head into the Gabba turf. I did get that one. Archie Smith gets it down to Jansen. Putting himself straight through was Brain. Taps the ball across half forward for Sydney Uni. Desperate to get something going early in this third term. Michael Close injects himself, gives it to Keys. Keys puts it in the path of a couple of Lions players. Well done by the young bloke in Clayton. It was actually Dads. Gets it back to Clayton. Handball to Liam Dawson, who was like a half drop kick that never came back with a bounce over the boundary line, Kanga.
It's one of the better ones I've seen.
I think he was going to try and put the boot into it at the end, and he thought, hold on, if I put the boot into it off the ground, it's going to go out in the full. So he did a windy wolf.
Well disguised in the finish. Archie Smith had front spot. There's Jansen. He was taken down hard. Josh Clayton to Cox, now to Beams. Beams taking off where he left off before. Good strength is not the order of the day on that occasion from Close as he gives the free kick away. And he'll go to Barton. So Barton right in the middle of the Gabba. Looking for options forward. Instead decides to give it to Thompson. Thompson up to big Derricks. That was Tom Derricks. Eagles with the big spoil. Cedric Cox, hands and knees to William. They're just chain of handballs. Keys will find Josh Clayton now back to Cox. And Cox will just very easily find Jared Jansen on this Vulture Street wing.
Yeah, good, calm handballing from the young blokes in close quarters, Bob Batty. Really got that out of trouble.
Yeah, they haven't panicked all day, have they? They've and that's a great mark.
Michael
Fantastic
Price.
mark.
And that is strength too. Just nothing else, I suppose, the defender could do at that stage. And Thompson, he was all over him. Basically had a red-hot crack against him, but Close just too strong in front position. Kicks it to Oscar McInerney, who's about 18 foot too tall for his opponent there. And they're not happy about it again. As Stevenson gets involved, the skipper, must be very frustrating for him. Oscar McInerney gets up a little ginger, but he's going to have a shot from about 40 out. Hard pressed against the boundary line. Be a very difficult shot.
Handballed it? No, he hasn't. The umpire didn't allow it. But yeah, look, it did take the wind out of his sails, that spoil from, looked like Baron Hay. So this is going to be a tough kick for Big Oscar.
He's kicked a couple. The Lions lead by 45 points. He's hard against the boundary line. Goes across the face of goal. Big pack. Spoil. Sydney Uni should be able to rush this. Hamilman escorts it over the boundary line as well. Over the goal line, I should say. 11-11-77 to Sydney Uni 5-1-31. It's now 46 points in favour of the Brisbane Lions.
You mentioned Stevenson there before. He just needs to really impact this game, doesn't he? He's a leader of the club. He's an assistant coach. Just really needs to start getting his hands on the footy.
Well, he's the one that got it out from the point. That's Hinge, puts it back in. Freeman had front spot, couldn't quite get there, and the ball will roll over the boundary line. One of the big discrepancies, boys, we talked about in the first half was the marks. 72 to 26 they are currently in favour of the Brisbane Lions. So they've just controlled the play. And that was a very dangerous kick in by Sydney Uni. Comes off because Tom Young did a bit of hard work. Got it to O'Brien. Back to Young. Now to Bonnie. On that outer side. Stanley Street side. Goes up and finds Manteet in front of Close. Did well. Not too many times that Michael Close is outmarked. Michael Manteet. And that's just picked off nicely by Jack Payne. Had the height advantage and just killed it straight away. So half forward. Out of side on the Stanley Street side of the Gabba. Will Sydney Uni attack?
Jacob Derricks glared back at his teammate there, who just sat it on the head of Matt Wilson. Gave him no opportunity really to attack that ball. Gave the Lions defence every opportunity as O'Brien gets it. Top of the square. Good defensive effort from Brisbane. Good tackling there from Sydney Uni. Rove there by Matt Wilson, who hooks it through for a much needed goal for Sydney Uni. Well done by Manteet, who put some pressure on. And Matt Wilson scores the goal. So after the Lions kick the first two behinds of the third quarter, Sydney Uni get the first goal, 11-12-78 to 6-1-37. It's 41 points now in favour of the Lions.
Yeah, you mentioned their entry into the into inside 50 hasn't been good, and Derrick's staring down Manteet as he barreled the ball towards a small player on the boundary side. But that was a better kick to a dangerous spot. And look, if they're going to make some mistakes in the back half, it's probably going to come from the younger blokes. And a smothered handball there from Jack Payne, and a nice snap from Matthew Wilson, his first for the day.
Underway again, Tom Derricks, Lions, now to the run of Ruben William. Open passage forward, looking for it. There was Dawson, couldn't take it. Just upended was Williams, and they'll still work it out here. Just tapped over to Hamilton, looking for Freeman. He'll try and get around one, tries to get the leg on it. It came off the knee more than anything else. There'll be only a point, and Sydney Uni bring it back in quickly. And then Stevenson, they'll look to repel. Here's John Williams running the other way now. Couldn't quite take it as he was backing back. Ruben Williams, he tried to palm him off. And he did well, Ruben Williams, forced a turnover close. And to Josh Clayton, they've got it on this Vulture Street wing.
Geez, they had it all there, Sydney Uni. Couldn't get the ball to hit the target. Well, Clayton hit the target there in Lions, but he dropped the mark. He's got Tom Young all over him. Lions drags it back underneath. Umpire could pick him here. No, he doesn't. Ball up on centre wing, commentary box side.
Bit of sun in the eyes possibly there. The ball kicked in.
Oh, yes. Well, look, here's a beautiful second day of spring here in southeast Queensland. Archie Smith misses his foot with the ball. Stevenson does likewise. Picked up by Keys. Kicks inside forward 50. Freeman's got a 2-on-1. Could have copped a free kick. Nothing happening. Well done, Uni defence. They'll get out of here. Straight up the corridor. It's going to end up with the skipper in Stevenson. Long kick inside 50. Well done, Cedric Cox, who knocked it down. Wilson roved again. Hooks it to Derricks. Derricks through. A couple of goals in quick succession too. Sydney Uni, and it's back to a 36-point ball game. 11-13-79 the Lions, 7-1-43 the Students.
Yeah, some better movement, wasn't it? Moved the ball much quicker. I think Stevenson was involved. They ran the ball better. You mentioned the boy Barton off half-back. He was involved as well. They need all those players with that experience to really run and move the ball quickly. They're not going to win this game if they chip it around and go slow. They've got to kick 6 or 7 goals against the Brisbane Lions. You've got to do it quickly and run the ball quickly. And that was a good response. And he's proving a little bit of handful there, Matthew Wilson. Although Cedric Cox has won plenty of the footy, he's got to watch the defensive side.
So the winner of this game will go on and play the Sydney Swans. They're going to get the better of the Gold Coast Suns. So we know one of the grand final participants. And the game will be in Sydney next week. Details to be confirmed. Tom Derricks got the tap down. Keys went through hard, but wrapped up. Pushing the back is the call. It'll go the way of Ben Keys. James Brain was the one man in the mark. Ruben Williams went round the back, got the ball. just propped and kicked it high, looking for the tall timber. Pushed off it was Freeman. Coming through there, Sloan with the ball. He's dispossessed. Xavier Richards, he got taken away from him. Ends up with Bonnie through the middle of the ground. He just got the handball away. Dimmery, he was dispossessed. Now Eagles, Buick. Now there's a bit of run forward. Bit more penetration at it. And McInerney. He had the run of it. Had enough of it. And the big open arms of Oscar McInerney can go back, and he'll be shooting for number 3.
Credit to Oscar McInerney. That's about the third time today that I reckon he's... I reckon that's the third time today that with his height you would think that he'd want to be at the back of his opponent, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Just to take the big grab over the back. But he works to the front in every contest, and that was great work. He was on Barton. If it wasn't a mark, it was a push in the back, and he should go back and slot his third here.
Crowd calling out for give Thompson a 50-metre penalty. And you wrapped him up, Bobby, a bit too early. And McInerney, that's 2 goals, 2 for him this afternoon. And the lead now out to 37 points.
The Lions been a bit wasteful since quarter time. They have kicked 5 goals, 12 to Sydney Uni, 7 straight goals. So 10 more extra scoring shots, but not making them count as they could. Gillespie across halfback, finds Manteet, the former Collingwood listed player. Kicks it inside the corridor. Oh, it was an awful kick, but it was worked out nicely for the students. Gillespie now gets the ball back to Barton. Barton, can he control it? No, he doesn't, but he gets it to Young somehow, who gets it off to Hiscox. Young involved again, tackled by Close. Drops the ball. Nicely tackled, Michael Close. Tom Young just trying everything, using every part of his body, every limb to move that ball forward. As the Lions come out of defensive 50, it's Cedric Cox at right halfback. He's had a fine game, Cedric Cox, except for that kick. He kicks it to Hiscox. Hiscox comes in and kicks the 8th goal for Sydney Uni. As soon as you give him a rap, it's the commentator's curse. He's had a great game and then gave away a goal. Second one for Hiscox. But they're taking their chances, Sydney Uni. They're absolutely getting belted on the scoreboard, but 8 straight since quarter time. As I said, to the Lions, 5 goals, 12. They're being too wasteful, Bob.
Yeah, certainly. Look, that's one part of Oscar's game that he's got to improve on is the ball drop from set shots at goal. It's certainly one that they should have kicked. But at the same time, full credit to Sydney Uni. They've got nothing to lose, have they? They've got to attack it. They've got to take chances. That's what they did. Barton running through the centre of the ground there. Couldn't get a handle on the bounce. So he's taking chances and having a bit of a crack. And look, good finish there from Hiscox. We know his speed. We know his ability to finish is good finish.
So back in the middle again, Tagliabue. He was there. Now McInerney out of the centre, but just couldn't quite find a target. And Hebron was the man for Sydney Uni to mop it up. Out towards Tom Young. On the Stanley Street wing, he gets a kick forward. Close is there just to mop it up for Brisbane, so they'll bring it back the other way. Will they be able to use it? Up towards Freeman. Barron Hay was right there. Stevenson. Now the run of Brain. And now finding a bit of space is Manteet. And ripped off it there by Payne. Well done to him, the young man did well as Manteet tried to feint. And the ball wrapped up before it came out, so the umpire will ball it up. And Jack Payne saves the day.
Another ball up. McInerney gets rid of his opponent. Tagliabue picked it up, though, after McInerney just towed it forward a metre. Bonnie beautifully gathered and in one step knocks another one through. Sydney Uni get their 9th. The Lions 11-14-80 to Sydney Uni 9-1-55. We are back to a 25-point margin, and they're coming, the students.
Well, that's the closest they've been since probably about the 7 or 8 minute mark of the first quarter, when it was 4 goals, 1-0. So, yeah, they're within touching distance now, but it's that last 3 or 4 goals. You can get a few in a row, but you've got to work that hard to get back into a contest like this. That is the concern. But look, full credit to them. They're really working hard. They've got some run, some belief. And they haven't given up on this opportunity to get to the big dance.
So 4 goals to 4 behinds. And Sydney University, they closed the margin to 25 points. Brisbane is looking a little bit tired, and Uni full of energy. Jansen couldn't take it away. Thompson gets it going the students' way. Now they come again. Dimmery. Now to Bonnie from 55. Pulls it across the face. And only one behind, so 4 straight goals. Now the margin. And they're pressing the students, Pricey.
Yeah, they are. 17 minutes into the first quarter, they kicked their first behind, and that's their second, nearly 14 minutes into the third. So they've been accurate with their chances as Cedric Cox gets the ball, puts on the pace, has a bounce, gets away from Bonnie, shoots a handball forward to O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan to McInerney, looping a handball now to Dads. He juggles, breaks a tackle, and chips a ball beautifully into the pocket. Well done, good composure, young man. The mark has been taken in the forward pocket there by Ben Sloan. I just like the way the young man didn't panic there, just chipped it nicely. Bob used his skills, and Cedric Cox again, he knew he had Damien Bonnie for pace there and took him on.
Yeah, well, 3 young boys involved, 3 academy boys involved in what could be a really important goal for the Lions.
And he bangs it through Ben Sloan. That is an important goal. Sydney Uni with the last 4 of the game. And the Lions take it back to 30 points. 12-14-86 to Sydney Uni, 9-2-56. 15 gone, third term.
Well, back into the second quarter, it makes it 5 in a row for Sydney Uni actually kicks. So, you know, let's stem the tide and get a little bit of composure and accuracy. And that's what the academy players actually brought to that, Bob. So, you know, credit where credit's due. The academy is really teaching these kids not only about the kick, mark and handball, about the different styles of play and finding your place in time within the game.
Yeah, they don't panic, do they? They when they got hold of the ball there, they had a science about it, didn't they? That they were going to make sure they found a teammate as they went further forward. But full credit to Cedric Cox there. He took them on. That's where the ball came into the forward line, was from him taking on the opposition.
The bounce again, play on's a call, even though it went a bit sideways. Josh Clayton out of the middle, gets it going down towards a tall timber. Barton just dragged Freeman down, no free kick. Barron Hay under pressure. Taking the run onto it, there's Cox up in the forward line. Coming out there was Lonigan. Lonigan just goes high on that left foot, looked awkward and just bounces towards the boundary line. That's just unfortunate, won't be deliberate. And the boundary umpire, the largest boundary umpire in the NEAFL.
And he doesn't throw it in, Kanga?
He throws it down, he's so tall.
Correct.
Zach Coyne, his name is. We like to mention that on frequent occasions during the NEAFL 2017 season.
Beautifully done. Nice throw in or throw down from the big man. Gets it down, Archie Smith to Clay Beams. Nicely tackled, loses the ball. It's stuck underneath him. Umpire says no. He didn't drag it in. Well done by Tagliabue to hold him up. And we'll get another ball up.
Last week you mentioned that Jonathan Williams had the job on Matthew Payne. Well, he's had the job for 3 quarters now on the man himself, Beams, who's dominated this game.
Well, he did a great job against Matthew Payne. 5 possessions in the last 3 quarters last week in the elimination final, but not quite as successful this week. Well done to Buick. Shrugged the tackle, gave it to Beams for an umpteenth possession. Gave it now to Cedric Cox. They go again. Sloan, chipping pass. Punched away from Freeman. Well done. Uni defence just starting to scrape back now. Cedric Cox hard pressed against the boundary line. Handball back to Clayton. Beautifully done, Cox. Clayton. Oh, Clayton! What a goal to Josh Clayton. The Lions get their 13th, 13-14, 92-9, 256. Back to 36 points the margin. 17.5 gone, third term. I didn't think Josh Clayton had any right to be kicking that goal, Kanga.
No, I didn't think he was going to line them up, but certainly an acute angle.
He loves them from there.
Well,
he loves them.
At the end of the day, you've just got to back yourself when you think you can do it, and you live and die by the sword, and he lives.
Yeah, great work against Cedric Cox, wasn't it? He took him on again. He took the 2 tacklers on and fed the ball out. And Ben Sloan, full credit to him. He picked up the crumbs initially and got the ball over towards Cox. So we keep talking about those academy players. They're right in amongst it.
So Tom Derricks and Archie Smith, the 2 44s to do battle in the middle of the Gabba. was Tom Derricks on that occasion that gets it. Jonathan Williams is right there with Clay Beams. Wrapped up is Josh Clayton. He looked a handball. He's under pressure. The ball funneled out. Dawson is in defence. Tries to get it towards the young man in Jack Clayton. Ryan Dadds did well. Ruben Williams dances around. Dadds again just taps it in the path of Lions. Chain of handballs. Dadds now to Josh Clayton. A little bit of space. And the kick just falls short and finds Lonergan.
So Lonergan goes across half-back. Oh, dangerous kick. Well done, Michael Close, who injected himself, got the ball, and then loosed the ball. Gave it to McInerney now. Corey Lyons, ill-directed kick. Well done. Sydney Uni defence just starting to get on top with Sirakowski. Zach O'Brien now, who's been trying hard all day. He chips at the centre half-back. Jack Hiscox needs to get more involved in the game. Jono Williams now. They're moving it slowly but effectively down the outer side through Hebron. And Hebron, as soon as I said that, kicked it over the head of his teammate and out of bounds on the full. So the Lions will have a free kick on the outer side at left half-back.
So Buick, possession number 19, gives it to Corey Lyons.
Take your glasses off, Jason.
It's a kick off now to O'Sullivan, inside forward 50, and that's a shocker. Ends up with Hebron. And Ryan Hebron represented the NEAFL in the game against Tasmania this year down in Hobart. Did a very good job in defence there. Big task here this afternoon. Now to Dimmery. But Dimmery inside his own defensive 50. He's got Gillespie through the middle. He can have a little bit of a run at it. And gets it up to Potter. Oh, I should say to Young. They feed it back to Manteet. Now back to Young. Bring the ball in board. Back to Dimmery. Forced to go on the left. Bonnie and William. William with the spoil. Jacob Derricks wriggles free. Gets the handball away. Jansen's right there. Buick. He can mop it up and go towards. Under pressure. It's a good mark there by Payne. A little bit of byplay at the back there, boys.
Yeah, I was having a bit of a giggle because Damien Bonnie, he just dragged his opponent down about 5 metres off the ball. It was actually quite comical in Josh Clayton.
He's been good today, Payne, I reckon. He's one of the more impressive games that he's had at NEAFL level.
So Clay Beams, probably best on ground for mine. Gets it back now to Campbell Walker, who puts a sky ball up. Nicely taken there. Well done to Hebron. Kicks it towards Bonnie and William. That's been a fascinating little battle. Bonnie gets rid of him, roves it, curls it back to Manteet. It bounces for him and he dribbles it through. It has been a fascinating battle this quarter. Ruben William and Damien Bonnie. I'll give Bonnie the honours in this quarter though. Sydney Uni get their 10th, 13-14, 92 to 10 to 62, 30 points the margin. And in this third term, we played 21.5 minutes on NEAFL TV. Bob Batty?
Well, we remember back many, many years ago, back in the 20s, Bonnie and Clyde. Well, look, it's definitely on again today, isn't it, with Bonnie and William. It's been a great contest. And look, I love the game of Ruben William today. He's really attacked it hard. He's run hard. And he's had a couple of young blokes around him that he's really worked in conjunction with. But Damien Bonnie, we mentioned him earlier. He's a niggler. He keeps at it. He'll get you frustrated. And let's hope Ruben William keeps his cool.
McInerney got it down. Lyons was there, had his kick smothered, but emerging with the ball is Keys. Almost dropped it from the bounce. Gives it everything he has. Baron Hay, though, for Sydney Uni can get it out in front of Hamilman, so he repels. The ball stays in, but it just does actually bounce out. See quite a few of the Lions. The back sitting in the shade, just watching proceedings this afternoon, seeing how their NEAFL charges are travelling, and at the moment they're holding sway by 30 points.
Notice Mitchell Hinge for the Brisbane Lions has gone back to mark Damien Bonnie in the forward line for Sydney Uni as Ruben William takes off to mark Manteet. Now the ball on the outer side, it's perilously close to the boundary line. Picked up by Zach O'Brien for Sydney Uni. Kicks it in the direction of Jono Williams, but going back with the flight, Cedric Cox, who's chasing Clay Beams, who gets the ball for BOG honours, drills a pass, does Clay Beams. And hits Luke O'Sullivan on the chest, 30 metres out directly in front. A class above so far today, I think, Clay Beams with his ball delivery.
Yes, he's been prolific. That's 27 disposals, 9 inside 50s, 2 clearances. And throw 5 marks and a tackle in board there. He has been in the thick of it.
So here comes Luke O'Sullivan. Kicks from 40. It starts a little left and hits the post. One behind results. 13-15-93 to Sydney Uni 10-2-62. 31 points. The Lions lead by a Sydney. Bring it back in.
He's had a few chances at goal there, O'Sullivan, and I think he's kicked about 3 behinds at this stage. Good work, Cedric Cox, wasn't it, with that running back with the flight of the footy.
That was Cox that put the spoil on Tom Young. Take the ball over the boundary line. So at half forward, Stanley Street side of the ground. The boundary umpire will throw it back into play. It'll be Tagliabue and McInerney. Give that one to McInerney. Just belts it for the second time towards the boundary line. And Freeman is chaperoning the footy over the boundary line with Baron Hay in hot pursuit.
What I have noticed this quarter, Kanga, is the defenders, the tall defenders of Sydney Uni seem to have got back and at least curtailed any marking strength up there for the Brisbane Lions. That's one thing that they've done and done well this quarter.
McInerney front spot, just tips it down to himself. Just a little dinky one to Clay Beams. Now to Clayton, gets a high one right to the goal square. Freeman had front spot. O'Sullivan was there, lays the pressure and does it well. He almost crumbed it. And as Hebron tried to get away with it, he just put the afterburners on to lay the tackle. Quality work.
Any chance some of his teammates might have actually told him he was hot in the right back pocket.
So he comes around the corner and kicks it. So Luke O'Sullivan, the boy from Mount Gravatt, 20 or 19 years of age. I'll try to give him another one. But he extends the margin out to 37 points. That was great defensive work, Bob.
Certainly was. Look, he's had some games at Redland this year, hasn't he? He and Sloan, you mentioned, they've all had opportunities down there, but gee, when they come back here and play their role for the Brisbane Lions, it looks like Mitch Hahn and the coaching staff there are getting the very best out of him, and that was brilliant work. He, as you said, rode the pack, nearly could have got it from the punch from behind, but then kept at it and laid a brilliant tackle on the finish. Wowee.
13 disposals, 1 goal, 3. Just hasn't quite finished off, as we've discussed there, but geez, he's knocking up getting the footy.
So Clay Beams gets yet another clearance, but this time it falls into the hands of Austin Lucy, who immediately bangs it inside 50. It bounces past Jacob Derricks. Well done there by Campbell Walker it was, who got the ball around. Oh, nice mark. That is Campbell Walker who received the ball. It was
Payne.
It was Payne who got it to him. Clayton now, Josh Clayton. Just some of the composure of the young Lions Academy players today has been absolutely outstanding, and to all involved, you've got to be congratulated. Tagliabue did well to get a foot to ball. Goes past Xavier Richards. Umpire's going to throw it in. I think it might have just trickled over the boundary line next to the benches. It did. And so it will be a ruck contest between the two 44s, Archie Smith and Tom Derricks. You can see Tom Young just on his haunches a little bit there, just sucking in the big ones. It's a hot day here in Brisbane. Corey Lyons puts himself in. Tom Young does well on hands and knees. Slaps it forward for the students. Stuck underneath the pack again. And they do extract it now, Brisbane. It's with Keys, the left footer inside 50. Great work there by Hebron. Takes the mark, and Sydney Uni should be able to get out here if they collect this ball with Hiscox.
So he gathers, gets around one. That's close. He'll keep working, but Hiscox has the foot speed. Down to Williams, and he runs on, which he likes to do. Loves that follow-up play. Kicked a goal like that earlier in the game, and he goes again. Got it from Brain. This time he's forced to give it off to Manteet. He'll find a little bit of space, and now he just tries to line one up and does, and finds Bonnie. He had every right to go for goal there, but decided to spot up Damien Bonney. And he's been good, Damien Bonney, especially in this quarter, as we mentioned, Bob.
Yeah, look, he'll never give up, will he? He's a goal sneak. He nearly kicked one from 55 on the run that really got you excited a couple of minutes ago, Kanga, but this will certainly help the students in their quest for success today.
So 45-degree angle, 38 metres he kicks it from and pulls it. So that was a crucial miss, one would think, in the context of this game. Uni at different times have had a bit of momentum going their way, and they just need to really try and bridge that gap to put the pressure on.
Well, they need to take all of their chances. 29 scoring shots to 13. And now 6 goals straight behind the Brisbane Lions. Cedric Cox, who is growing in stature. And Bob, you've got to think that he's one of the feel-good stories for the Brisbane Lions moving forward in any case.
They've had a lot of good ones this year, haven't they? But he's certainly one of them. He's very exciting.
Well, Michael Close and Alistair Gillespie behind the play. Close holding Gillespie off as the Lions bring the ball forward. Umpire comes in to break them up. Campbell Walker now chips it to Oscar McInerney, who's about 1.5 foot taller than Jack Hiscox. Well, they just stood toe-to-toe there. McInerney just lopes in, and that's a big kick to a dangerous spot. Archie Smith just could not quite hold it. Well rode there by Sloan. Handball off to Corey Lyons. Hard against the boundary line, and a big fly there from Luke O'Sullivan. Was having a red-hot crack at mark of the year there. And off hands over the goal line, and Sydney Uni, well, they'll just get out through Mitch Thompson after they nearly buggered up the kick in.
Well, they bugger up the handball because they put it in the path of a Brisbane Lions player, and forced to lay the tackle was John O'Williams. So they almost undid their work as they tried to really move the football. Underneath there was Jack Clayton. So at half forward for Brisbane, we start again. Tom Derricks. Archie Smith, though, got the handball away. Bursting through was Zach O'Brien. Measured the handball wonderfully. Stevenson took a bounce, now gives it to Manteet. Half forward, looking for the target over the top of Jacob Derricks' head. And if the kick was just a little bit better, they would have been having a shot on goal.
Yeah, certainly so. You know, their movement in, or their structure, the way they've moved the ball into the forward line hasn't been good. And if you're a leading forward such as Derricks, he hasn't had many platters given to him on a plate at this stage. But Josh Clayton got a run through the footy there. He lost it at the stoppage then.
Just noticed Ben Keys going off with a bit of cramp late in this third term. Archie Smith got the tap down, but it was almost in the path there of James Brain, but rushed over the boundary line by the Brisbane Lions defence, and will have a throw in right forward pocket for the students late in the third term, trailing by 37. It's going to be a good ruck contest between Archie Smith and Tom Derricks. Derricks worked his way to the front, actually went over the back of both of them, picked up by Jansen. Shunts it forward, his opposite number in Gillespie, taken without the ball. He'll get a free kick, 40 metres out directly in front, so it'll give the students a chance to move that little bit closer just before three-quarter time.
Just notice that Mitch Hahn has pushed Rowan Buick back, and also you mentioned Michael Close going back down. They're just a little bit of experience to help soothe the nerves of some of the younger players that they've got there. Important kick here from Gillespie, Kanga.
Yeah, now Alistair Gillespie, new to the Sydney Uni Club this year from Ringwood, comes in. Let's go from 40, it floats left. Disappointing finish. But at three-quarter time, it's the Brisbane Lions by 6 straight goals. 14-16-100 to Sydney Uni, 10-4-64. That's after the Lions led by 45 at half-time and 37 at quarter time. The students have got it all up against them in the final term, boys.
Yeah, they do, and it's all to play for them. And what we saw, after coming out 45 points down at half-time, they played with a lot more flair, a lot more dash, and to an extent it's come off. However, the Brisbane Lions have just steadied at the right time to maintain that real advantage, and certainly leaves the Sydney University with a big task in this last quarter.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Kanga. I think they've taken the edge off probably the dominance of the Brisbane midfield. and certainly taken an edge also off their marking power up forward, but it still hasn't, it's only helped them a goal or so, so they've still got a long way to go. It's going to be a big task, 6 goals down. On a day like this, you're going to be really looking for petrol tickets.
Well, 36 points is the margin. 6 straight kicks heading into the last quarter here of the preliminary final at the Gabba. We're on NEAFL TV. The Lions lead. Can they hang on? We'll find out after the break.
Welcome back to the Gabba. It is NEAFL TV's preliminary final day. A grand final on the line with the Brisbane Lions playing Sydney Uni at three-quarter time. It's the Lions by 36 points, 14-16, 100 to Sydney Uni, 10-4, 64. That's after the Lions led by 45 at halftime and 37 at quarter time. It's Michael Price and Mark Kennedy calling all of your action. Bob Batty is the man with all your special comments. And to get the final term going here at the beautifully sun-drenched Gabba, it's Mark Kennedy.
The umpire nods over the ball and bangs it into the middle of the Gabba to get us underway. Archie Smith unopposed. Jono Williams for Sydney Uni tries to get it to Zach O'Brien. He's well corralled by Lyons and Keys. We'll do it all again. So Sydney Uni with it all to do in this last quarter. 6 straight kicks adrift of the Brisbane Lions. Tagliabue and Smith. Give that one to the ladder. Just batted forward yet again. Will Sierakowski tries to come through. Only gets a muffled left foot to it. Payne's there. And also Lyons, and we'll do it all again. Opening exchange in this last quarter, very important, Bob Batty.
Certainly are, and look, they players of the calibre of Brain, Derek's boys, Gillespie, Lucy and Young have got to really lift if the students have got any chance whatsoever.
Josh Clayton gets a handball away, but it's stolen by Stevenson. Gets it going the students' way. Jacob Derricks was the man trying to be the forward marking target up on the wing, but it was Dawson who smacked it out of bounds. So I'll have a throw in right on the Stanley Street wing.
I mentioned Lucy there. That's one of the reasons why he hasn't had much, is Dawson's done a really good job when he's pushed forward on Lucy.
Yeah, both members of the Aspley 2014 Premiership side. As the Uni students bring it through Sierakowski, kicks it to a dangerous spot. Derrick's tunnelled underneath, but it was actually just part of the actual contest. Hinge did his best to fumble it over the goal line without being pinged. Did well. One behind results for Sydney Uni as Brisbane Lions bring the ball back in. Cedric Cox growing in stature before our very eyes.
Cox to Beams. Two of the better performers on the day. Out to Josh Clayton. He's got a little bit of room to move at half back on the outer side. Measures up at target. It's Archie Smith. Comes to meet it. In front of the Sydney Uni bench. Plenty of instructions coming from them. Smith just hoists it high. At the back, unopposed, was McInerney. Feigned to give it. He had a player there, then not sure where to give it. Gives it to Lyons. He was under pressure. Now back to Beams. Beams just kicks it high. That's going to probably drift out of bounds, is it? Or at least off some hands it will. It's touched and will be thrown in, so a little bit of indecision about what the purpose they were trying to achieve there was, Bob.
Yeah, I think they got a little bit too cute there. Archie should have just gone bang. Not Archie, Oscar. Should have gone bang and kicked into the goal square. And I think Barton had an absolute falcon there, right on the snaz.
Yeah, too much time to think for a big ruckman there, Bob, you think? As McInerney gets on hands and knees, he's got Tagliabue standing there holding the jumper, hoping for holding the ball, nothing happening. Oh, Beams just threw that. Umpire spotted it. It was right against the boundary line. He just gave it a bit of a scoop. Jono Williams gets the free kick hard against the boundary line at the left back pocket for Sydney Uni. Feigns to go right and then goes down the outer wing. That's a good mark by Matt Eagles over the back of the pack.
Oh, he's hurt his leg, I'm sure there. The bloke fell across his leg, but he's a tough nut, isn't he?
He is a tough nut. Nice set of dreads on him as well. He backs off to the logo and kicks a sky ball. Here's Freeman. Umpire is going to call a jump ball. Basketball style. No, he gave it to Freeman. You could see John Freeman coming from 5 metres away. He's got over the top and taken the mark. Tagliabue still arguing with the umpire, saying, I was in front, I had purchase.
I reckon he's got every right to be upset. Bob, what do you think?
I think it was a dead heat. I think you called it right, Pricey. I think it was a jump ball. And anyway, the umpire is in a better position than we are. He's given it to Jono Freeman, and what a clincher kick this would be for Jono Freeman. Right on 50. It'll be a real lifter for the Lions.
Well, 4 minutes into the final term, he lets go from 52. He gives it a good hoik, and it just goes across the face, and one behind results. So 101 plays 65, back to 36 points the margin. 4 gone, final term.
They look up the middle. They find a target. It's Thompson. He has one further up the middle. It's Young. So they just might try and split them. He's gone. He eluded the tackle of Lyons. Now goes back around. Not sure where to go. And now kicked it to a dangerous spot. So Michael Close could interject, but they still hold on to it. Barton out to Hebron. So a little bit lucky there. There's Jacob Derricks. Might look for his brother. Instead, he looks and finds exactly his teammate. That is a clanger, Michael Close. So Close has to go back towards Derricks. Jansen's right there with him. Hebron wins it for Sydney Uni. Derricks, again, of the Jacob variety, to Barton. Now to Zach O'Brien. Not sure where to go. Just sort of stopped, propped, and then kicks it long. Cox, it went over the back of him. William was there. Bonnie's there also. Eagles just goes off the ground. He was looking for Josh Clayton, and it was disguised well enough in the umpire's opinion that it will be thrown in. The Sydney Uni attack out of side, 20 metres from goal.
Yeah,
a little bit touch and go.
Yeah, well, Clayton was right there, wasn't he? So I think a correct decision by the umpire.
Throw in Tagliabue versus Archie Smith. Tagliabue got the tap down. O'Brien got the ball, but it was immediately tackled by Keys. He lets go of it. Keys ends up getting the ball. Gives it to Clayton, toes it forward. Now it's stuck under a pack. Tagliabue tackling, as is Mitch Thompson for Sydney Uni, and we'll have a ball up. Last person to get up will be Campbell Walker with the ball. 30 metres out from the Sydney Uni goal. Need to get a wriggle on. Well, that's a good piece of tackling work there from Keys. Got Keys down and touched off the boot, that was. The crowd likes it, but it's like a bump ball.
And we've got somebody who's in a bit of strife down there.
Yeah, that was a crunchy.
The having tackle.
Keys, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ben Keys got thrown into the ground. It was a majorly heavy tackle, and he's going to have a long time getting up as the Lions go to right half back.
So Josh Clayton has it, gives it to Clay Beams. They just wax there. Little chipping kick. Looking for and finding O'Sullivan, but he immediately was in trouble. And the free kick will go Sydney Uni's way. They feed it back quickly. O'Brien finds Young. Half forward, looking for a bit of a build-up here. Go deep, inside forward 50. It was too long, too far. And Matthew Eagles just mops it up in defence. Not sure where to go, but finds Michael Close right on defensive 50.
So Michael Close, left half back. Just holds it up, just waits for a little bit of movement. Why not? You're 35 points up with 7 minutes gone in the final term. He kicks it long down the line. Well done there by Sirakowski. Punched away from him. And roved by Sloan. Gets the handball back in. Board there to Dawson. Dawson to the run of Buick from 55. He's got a man in the middle. He's right on 50. He kicks it towards the dangerous spot at the back. Or Ryan Dadds couldn't quite control it. Well done by Hebron. Handball off now to Tom Derricks. Derricks chips it forward. It's too big for Zach O'Brien, but Ruben William got into his back anyway. Sydney Uni. Well, could have been given some advantage there, I thought. Bonnie ended up with the ball, but it's going to come all the way back to centre-half back and Zach O'Brien.
So O'Brien at centre-half back, as Pricey mentioned. Now to Barton on the wing. Has the run of Stevenson. He can go the journey here. Takes a bounce. Inside forward 50. It's across the face. And he probably need to show a bit more confidence as the Brisbane defence just ushers it through.
It's time for a captain's goal there, Kanga. Time for a skipper's goal, and it didn't quite work out that way for Sydney Uni. Now Brisbane are going to go down the outer side. Josh Clayton kicks it to the wing. Gets it towards Clay Beams. Mitch Thompson in his hammer, but Beams has just been superlative. BOG by a country mile today. Comes back in with a handball. Manteet was pressuring. Gillespie. Mitch Thompson. Oh, they're going to muck it up here. Matt Wilson. And it comes back to Campbell Walker. Left, right, left, right. Wilson hassles him and he kicks it 30 metres in the air, 2 metres forward. It bounces in front of Ayton. He can't control it on the outer side. Some tired bodies in the final term of the prelim final. Umpire will ball it up as a stack of bodies fall on top of it. Just in front of the benches. And it has been a warm day here in Brisbane as well. 25, 26 degrees. There's not a breath of wind, not a cloud in the sky.
Good to see Ben Keys running back out in the ground there after that heavy tackle where he's clonked his noggin on the Gabba turf.
So here's Cox. He'll come away with it. It's a dangerous kick in the middle of the ground. Finds Will Sirakowski. Has a runner in Williams. Chooses not to use him. Instead goes over the top and finds the top knot of Alistair Gillespie. One of the more popular do's getting around these days, the old top knot.
I'm in no danger, Kanga. You can't form that few hairs into a top knot.
The man bun gives it, unloads from 50. Gillespie and pulls it to the near side. So they narrow by 1. They need to narrow by more and quickly, one would think. 33 points now, the margin.
Lions.
Brisbane bring it back into play, and an error. Might get another chance. Gillespie, no. He's wrapped up, dispossessed. Lions is there. Beams just took it with the one hand and gave it off to Josh Clayton as they released Pricey.
Handball over to Clay Beams, but it just bounces away from him. Mitch Thompson interjects for Sydney Uni. Handball now off to Sirakowski. Nice pass. Finds his teammate there in Gillespie. Kicks it errantly, in fact. Campbell Walker, another one of those academy players who's had a fine game.
Had a 2-on-1 there, didn't they, Sydney Uni?
Just terrible, terrible kicking from Gillespie. Look, he had the chance to kick a goal a minute ago. You think he'd make up for it with that one, but that was a coach killer. That one, as Danny Frawley would call it.
We've had a couple of those today from Sydney Uni. Josh Clayton now. Wasn't the best of kicks there. Now Austin Lucy intercepts for Sydney Uni. Chips it forward. Jono Williams. Down to Zach O'Brien. Went the don't argue. Lost the pill. Should have been the incorrect disposal. Ruben William now. Now Cedric Cox after he got the ball from Sloan. Got all the time in the world, this boy. Just goes back now to Michael Close. Close. Oh, good pressure there from Bonnie as they wax too much. Bonnie keeps going. Handball to the skipper in Stevenson. Under a lot of pressure. Tries to get it to O'Brien. It ends up back with him. Gets around his opponent. And O'Brien should finish. No, he doesn't. One behind. So they're just going up in increments of one, and it's not enough, Kanga, as we've said. 101 plays 69, 32 points the margin in favour of the Lions.
Yeah, 5 shots at goal in this last quarter in 10 minutes of play, and they've kicked 5 points, so they're not going anywhere at the minute.
Well, they've got an opportunity once again. Gillespie towed it off the ground. Zach O'Brien, he's got another chance. Finds a bit of wriggle room. Gets his kick, goes up in the air. Manteet, does he take it? No.
In the fault.
As the 7-foot boundary umpire, Zach Coyne, put his arms out horizontally and smacked half the crowd.
That's exactly. He can actually stand in between the goalposts and touch either one.
The Lions bring it back in. And that's a very good one-handed mark by Tom Derricks. Good composure. Chips it in board, finds Barton. Point of the square, half forward. Stanley Street side of the ground. They need to manufacture a goal here. Just chipping ball. And that's an ordinary kick. And that hurts. That really hurts. He was looking for Jacob Derricks, but instead found a boundary line out on the full. And kicking it back in is Dawson.
So Liam Dawson returns favour with an equally average kick. Goes over the pack, bounces in front of the boundary line and then over for a throw in between wing and right half back for the Lions. They're leading by 32 points, Bob.
Yeah, look, both teams very tired, been very taxing with this hot weather here and big ground, and it's always harder to make ground, though, when you're trailing by 6 goals. But they're making hard weather of this.
Yeah, when you're chasing tail, it is even harder. Mitch Thompson gets rid of Beams, does beautifully to get the ball back in, kicks it inside 50, looking for Bonnie. Well done, Jansen. Spoiled, but front and centre. With Hiscox can't quite pick it up. Michael Close can pick him up, and the umpire says no. And once again, Damien Bonnie gets shoved over by Mitchell Hinge. All's fair. Hiscox semi gives the ball back to the umpire, and we'll do it all again.
Well, if he picked it up cleanly, Hiscox, he was away, because Michael Close, with no disrespect, Hiscox had him covered for pace.
Oh, absolutely. Michael Close is a lot of things, but a speedster is not one of them. Hacked out of defence by Brisbane. Well done there by Xavier Richards. Gets around an opponent from 55. He just has a wild ping towards goal. Could have been a shove out there. Nothing happening. Over for another behind. So 10-10 to Sydney Uni. 31 points to the margin. They've kicked 6 behinds in the final term.
If they have another 30 shots, they'll get to within a kick. So they're really working hard. And full credit to them. They haven't given up hope, but the Lions just too big a lead.
They'll come again. Cox just sat it up, and McInerney lost it in the sun, and Tom Derricks took one uncontested. 70 metres from goal. He sits it up, looking for a forward target. Impacting the contest was Eagles, did it well, gathered his own ball and then just cleared it to the applause of the crowd. Put it up, trying to find rain. No rain coming here, and found Hebron instead for Sydney Uni, who gets it to Thompson at true centre half forward. So they're peppering. They are peppering. They cannot find an answer at the moment. Cox just gets a hand in there. Tom Young was on the lead. Now he goes out. Bit of clear ball here now. Finds Clay Beams. 33 touches coming up for number 34 this afternoon. He settles it down at half back.
Just takes his time. He knows they've got this game in hand, the Brisbane Lions. Chips it 20 metres forward and finds Campbell Walker in front of the Lions bench. Again, they'd be just happy to possess the ball, keep it in hand. If they didn't drop the mark and put it over the boundary line. I know the umpire actually says he did control that ball, Luke O'Sullivan, so won't be a throw in front of the benches. It'll be a mark taken right on the boundary line. Sydney Uni happened in front of their bench. They weren't that impressed by it. They're standing there giving the umpire some. And it's kicked towards right half forward. McInerney at the front of the pack with Archie Smith. And the ball hits the deck. Ben Keys underneath that. I think it's Ben Keys because he's been smothered by a Sydney Uni player.
There's another Falcon there. I think Big Derricks got one right in the scone there. Big Thomas Derricks. And that's the second one. We had Barton get one in the earlier quarter.
That's Bob Batty with the champion data
Falcon
stats. So we'll have the ball thrown in. Stanley Street side of the ground.
Here comes flip of the coin.
That's it.
Archie Smith and Tom Derricks. Give that one to Derricks. Smith follows up. Can't get a clean possession away though. Lyons runs onto it. Now running the ball over with Jared Jansen. Had a chat to him last Sunday. Happened to see him out and about. Lovely young fellow. Here's Jared Jansen. Tom Derricks, front spot, got it. Archie Smith kicked it the wrong way though when he gathered it. Ryan Dadds does well. Handball away, chain of handballs. They're just mucking it up here just a little bit, Brisbane. Hinge just measures a kick. Looking for and finding close. Decides to go back because he saw nothing in front of him. So just forward to centre on this Vulture Street. That's an ordinary kick. It'll bounce though. Richards, Hebron. Now to Lucy. Sirakoski, he loves the left. Gives it to Lucy, the run. He was going to try and have a big run at it. And Dimmery, he was taken high by Reuben Williams, so it'll come off. And they'll just try and look to get a bit of continuity with the football, Sydney Uni, but they just can't seem to do it without
messing it
a
up.
few stumbling blocks of their own.
Yeah, exactly right, Kanga. And look, it's been a bit of rope-a-dope this quarter. I think the Suns, the Sun itself is probably having an influence on the players, and they're that damn tired that they're really struggling to make ends meet.
The Lions have only kicked a point in the final turn. Matthew Eagles takes the mark, 40 metres from goal, an ill-directed kick. Starting to unravel a little bit as far as getting frayed around the edges due to fatigue, as Cedric Cox takes it right on defensive 50 for Brisbane. He's going to come back to the true centre half-back position, Rowan Buick. He's got Michael Close running for him on the commentary wing. Finds him, beautifully weighted kick. Close, goes back inboard. Floating mongrel, but beautifully controlled by Jared Jansen in one hand. Runs to 50, has a ping at goal and misses to the left. It was very laconic. It was almost Jared Brennan-like. He just sort of stuck the one mid out and juggled a bit. Missed the goal though.
Yeah, look, been a good performer for Mid-Charn all year, hasn't he, Jared Jansen? He's been a good percentage player, done his role every week.
Xavier Richards over the top of Sloane. Nothing doing, says the umpire, as he'll ball it up. So right on forward 50 for the Lions. They're attacking. One more goal will absolutely put this out of reach, one would think. Dimmery, quick handball off to Aiton. Aiton, a little bit of run in his leg still. Up towards Wilson. Haven't seen much of him in this quarter. Coming through now was Tom Derricks to half forward. Eagles with the spoil. Bonnie's there. Reuben Williams in hot pursuit. Getting there is Close. Does it well. Comes through. That kick didn't look great off the boot. Clay Beams put him under pressure. Thompson with the spoil. Ball running towards the boundary line. Clay Beams just looks a little bit inconvenienced with a knee. Or a bit of cramp at least. And the ball is adjudicated to go out of bounds.
I actually think the medical term is leather poisoning.
Yes.
He's
34.
Just racked him up, Clay Beams. Instrumental in getting the Brisbane Lions into a grand final next week in the NEAFL. It'll be a big game between the Sydney Swans and the Brisbane Lions, the two best teams in the comp for year 2017. Archie Smith gets in. Zach O'Brien, who's been a hard battler for Sydney Uni all day, leading their possession count.
He's had 32 possessions this afternoon, 8 clearances, 4 inside 50s, 4 rebounds, and 1 goal too.
Well, no wonder he's got a touch of cramp. He has been their outstanding contributor, Zach O'Brien. Good tackle there too. Got a bit of a sling going against Ben Keys, but Keys did try to fend him off. So Keys with the 3/4 of the jumper hanging on, gives it to Buick. Buick, the customary long left foot. It was well done there by Barton, who floated across the pack and defended it over the boundary line for a throw-in left forward pocket for Brisbane. Still leading by 32 points, 20 minutes gone final term. And they really did set it up in the first quarter, didn't they? They smashed them out of the park.
Yeah, certainly did. And look, they're hanging in there, Sydney Uni, but they're dog-tired, aren't they? And it's this game's gone up and down the one spot, really, in this last quarter.
McInerney just hits it forward onto Lyons. He gets it around a corner, and it's there. A clever set play from the ruck. McInerney, he knew he had runners going forward. One of them was Lyons, and just straightened up just enough to just roll it around with the right foot. So it puts it out of reach now, definitely, for Sydney University. 38 points adrift they are, 15-18, 108. Sydney Uni, 10-10-70. Played 21 minutes of this last quarter.
Yeah, look, one player I'd like to mention is Rowan Buick. He's been very consistent all day today. He's hasn't probably got as many stats as some of the, you know, like Beams and players like that, O'Brien that you mentioned, but his role and his kicking efficiency has been first class, and Cedric Cox again as well.
Well, 23 disposals for Rowan Buick, 12 marks, 3 tackles, and 2 goals. And Cedric Cox, he's had 23 also, 9 marks, 4 rebound 50s.
So back into the middle, Archie Smith for Brisbane. And Sam Tagliabue for Sydney Uni. It's kicked inside 50 for Brisbane. Over the head of Sloan. Getting back there, Sirakowski immediately pressured, ball over the boundary line. Throw in, right half forward, just inside. Attacking 50 for the Lions. 22 minutes gone in the final term on NEAFL TV with 38 points, the margin. Lions led by 37 at quarter time, 45 at half time, and 36 at 3/4 time. So they're continuing that pattern. They're leading the quarter by 2 points. Zach O'Brien hacked it out. Nice clearance, kicked it towards the outer wing. Well controlled by Wilson, who puts the skates on, has a bounce. It doesn't come back to him. Don't you hate it when that happens? He toes it forward over the boundary line for a throw in. He was bursting away from Matt Eagles there. The ball just didn't return.
No, they've done that a bit today, though, haven't they? They've even marks that they think they've had and have dropped at the last minute. So, you know, really, they really haven't had much continuity in that area.
O'Brien gets another clearance, kicks the barrel from 50. It's gone right to the goal square. It just plops straight in there. Manteet kicks it almost up in the air, and it's going to get there. So Michael Manteet is paid the goal, and they narrow it back to 32 points. And Manteet has kicked his second for the afternoon. It is all in vain, unfortunately. Too little, too late. 32 points, the difference.
Yeah, another player I'd like to make a mention of Brisbane Lions is the captain today, Eagles. I think his job on the 2 big boys in Derricks, the Derrick boys, I think he's done a massive job back there, and he's really led a very young defence for the Brisbane Lions, and he's not an old man himself. So great work, Matthew Eagles.
Yeah, well done. Originally born in South Australia. Well, born in South Australia. He played for North Ballarat before coming up here and won the TV series The Recruit as well.
Playing for Yeronga South Brisbane at the time.
There you go.
The Devils.
So ball's back in the middle. Lions by 32. Late in the final quarter here. The Gabba crowd enjoying this as Archie Smith slaps it down through the hands of Tom Young. Corey Lyons picks it up. Tom Young whacks him around the scone. So free kick to Lions. Handball to Clay Beams for a beautiful possession. Banged it down the throat of the man on the lead in Jared Jansen. And Clay Beams. Was that possession number 35 or 36?
That was number 35.
35. Not bad, but he can set that up. Now, we were wondering about the hunger and all of that and how desperate the Lions were going to be. You know, an experienced player like Clay Beams, 57 AFL games, has had a perler today. Comes from 50, right on the paint of the number 50. Kicks it to the goal line, over the head of McInerney. And through for a behind, so 109 plays 76. Back to 33 points in favour of the Lions.
Xavier Richards goes right down the middle. And misses it, does Gillespie. Thompson couldn't take it. Payne just flips a handball out. Jack Payne was looking for an academy teammate, couldn't find one. Lewis Stevenson on the left. Back there, it was indiscriminate. And back there was Liam Dawson to take a good defensive mark. The kick wasn't a good one. Ayton couldn't take it, but coming away with it is Walker. And Walker goes down the line. 2-on-1 Sydney Uni. Tom Young does well. It's it off to Hebron. Hebron gets it to 60 metres out. Finds Gillespie again. Now to Stevenson. And the kick under pressure only goes and finds Campbell Walker yet again.
Yeah, he's been a handy little acquisition today, Campbell Walker, one of the Lions Academy players. And Liam Dawson, I think, has done a fine job in defence today as well. Chips it forward to Clay Beams. Disposal 36.
I like the off-the-shoulder look that Ben Keys has got with his jumper too. It's a new fashion sense here for the Brisbane Lions. It could take off, Kanga, off the shoulder look.
Not for me, mate.
No. Not for you? Okay.
Yeah. Depends on what accessories he's wearing, of course, Bob. We all know that. Kicks down the outer side. And off hands over the boundary line in front of the two benches. You can see the Lions bench a little bit more up and about at the moment than the Sydney Uni bench. They're trailing the students by 33 points.
I was just thinking, Bob, I'd like to see some of the great sporting manufacturers come out with the off-the-shoulder number and see what teams adopt it for season 2018. Methinks not many, as Lucy gets it going forward for the students. Gillespie's there. Payne with the spoil. Now to Thompson. He's got a little bit of a run at it. On the left, tight angle, and to the near side it goes. So only the minor. 32 points now the margin, as the Lions will bring it back in.
Well, the Lions have got a full complement to pick from now next week, haven't they? So that really makes for a fantastic grand final, doesn't it? NEAFL TV, you'll see it here, I'm sure, but wow, getting 6 players back into this side is going to be a difficult selection, Mix.
Yeah, certainly will. There's a good mark taken by Tom Derricks on the outer side in front of Matthew Eagles, who's been right on him today. Zach O'Brien, fine contributor for Sydney Uni in the middle of the ground. Kicks long, inside 50. Big pack comes off hands. Rove by Mitch Thompson outside of the right boot and bangs it through for a belated goal to the students. Their 12th. So it's 15-19, 109 to Brisbane. Sydney Uni 12-11, 83, 26 points in favour of the Brisbane Lions. And we played 28 minutes of the final term.
Yeah, not going to be a long term though, is it? It's only the 3 goals kicked for the quarter, so you wouldn't think much time on. Probably about another minute and a half for the students to get a little bit more respectability in this scoreboard. So
what I've got to ask you fellas, what kind of mental scars was this leave for Sydney Uni? That's 3 preliminary final appearances in 3 years, and they've basically, well, they've been belted in all 3 of them. So where do you go forward with the messaging over summer, Bob?
Look, at a tough one. It's his first year as actual coach, Tom Morrison. So
he's done a great job.
Done a fantastic job with this team. And look, they've been, 4 losses for the year. Well, this will be their 5th loss, but they've been very competitive all year. But yeah, it's got to scar them a little bit, doesn't it? I think maybe if it was a home game, this is a home final, had won a few more games, they might have had enough to get over the line. But certainly not here today.
Well, Brisbane, they might have mucked this up at half back. Keys. Back to Josh Clayton. He was involved in the play. Thrown down after he kicked it. No free kick, says the umpire. Xavier Richards got the spoil, but with no great effect. Walker got it from Freeman. Now to McInerney. Didn't go the required distance. Freeman loads up from 60. It's long! It's long! It's good! A great conveyance by Jono Freeman. Puts a little bit of the icing on the cake, and that's 3 for him for the afternoon.
Well, you put him 30 metres out from goal on a set shot, and he'd probably miss half of the kicks that he'd have for goal. But from 55 on the run, 29 minutes into a fourth quarter, when you're just hanging for a little bit of juice to, you know, sort of get into those lungs. That was a beautiful kick, wasn't it?
Yeah, under a lot of pressure, Bob Batty, too. Jono Freeman, well, he's part of that tall timber, the 200 centimetre club they've got running around in the Brisbane Lions NEAFL side. McInerney, Hamilman's close. Jono Freeman as well. It's a very potentially dangerous forward line as Zach O'Brien gets another clearance, kicks it inside 50, and there's Michael, another one of them. Michael Close takes the defensive mark as the siren goes here at the Gabba, and the crowd at the Gabba get on their feet and applaud their side. The Brisbane Lions are into a grand final. They win 16-19, 115 to Sydney Uni, 12-11, 83, a final margin of 32 points after they led by 36 at three-quarter time, 45 at half-time and 37 at quarter time. They will play off in the NEAFL 2017 Grand Final next week against the Sydney Swans, the two best sides in the competition, in what will be an absolute blockbuster. Kanga, they were just too good today, the Brisbane Lions.
Well, they set the standard early, didn't they? And they really put Sydney University to the sword with that opening volley of 6 goals to just the one behind. I think they were shell-shocked, Sydney Uni. They weren't sure what to do. The tall forwards of Brisbane were all over the Sydney Uni defence, and the midfield were running riot thanks to Clay Beams, Ben Keys and Rowan Buick, amongst others. But you know, all credit to the Brisbane Lions and coach Mitch Hahn.
Yeah, now great win for the Brisbane Lions. We talk about the belief and I suppose the improvement of this list, and it was shown today, wasn't it? Especially in that first quarter, the way they really attacked this opportunity to. They really wanted, and they had that belief and hunger to get into the big dance next week. And yeah, congratulations to them. They did their homework well. They, as you mentioned before the bounce, Kanga, if they stopped the midfield opportunities for Sydney University, there are a lot of players in there that kick goals for them, and they really didn't have any targets up forward. And in the end, that starved them of opportunities. But they had so many opportunities up forward, Brisbane Lions. They had tall timber everywhere. McInerney loved his game. They had winners all over the ground. And congratulations go to Mitch Hahn and his coaching staff. And with a full squad of 22 to pick from next week, it's line ball as to who you go for.
Well, both sides are going to be able to play 23, I think, will be the go. So the Sydney Swans and the Brisbane Lions, it'll be an absolute star-studded event at NEAFL level for the grand final. It's going to be an absolute belter, and I know that on this afternoon, have a look at the NEAFL website. It will be announced on the NEAFL website, the time, the day and the venue for the 2017 NEAFL Grand Final. Promises to be a ripper, Pricey.
Yeah, it should be a great game. As I said, two best teams in the competition. And, well, when you put the two best together, that's you expect to get a good show and some better results. That's what will happen next week in the Grand Final. Should be a spectacular game.
And just from quarter time, you mentioned that that first quarter won it for them. 10-17 the Lions kicked after the first quarter, and the opposition 12-11. So not much between them for 3 quarters, but that first quarter blew them out of the water, the Brisbane Lions.
And the faithful of the Brisbane Lions are here. And while the whole stadium wasn't open, it was free entry today, so the crowd salute the Brisbane Lions. They'll go over and see their supporters. They'll be very happy. Sydney University a little bit forlorn. And about 5 weeks ago, we saw an absolute belting game before the 2 grand finalists in the Lions and also the Swans, and it was the Lions that prevailed. But I think next weekend, the Swans will go in as favourites on their home deck down in New South Wales. But anything can happen at NEAFL level, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be here this afternoon. I think we might be ready to wrap it up, Pricey.
Yeah, look, again, thank you very much for the entertainment to both the Brisbane Lions sides and the Sydney University side. They were gallant, the students. They had a red-hot crack. They got belted in the first quarter. That was their problem, and it was that margin that basically held them off for the rest of the day. They would be dejected. 3rd preliminary final loss in 3 years. The Lions, well, they don't lose finals. They don't like to lose finals. I don't think they've lost a NEAFL final if they've been competing in it. So, look, the two best sides in the competition, that's a dream grand final for any competition. When you get 1 and 2 that have been clearly that good together, and they're playing against each other next week. As I say, it will be an absolute cracker of a game.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure to call this one from the Gabba. The Brisbane Lions go off to the big dance next week against Sydney Swans.
So we might wrap it up here. On behalf of myself, Mark Kennedy, the encyclopedia of the NEAFL, in all sporting achievements I might add, in Bob Batty, and the wonderful Michael Price, thanks for joining us here on NEAFL TV from the Gabba, where the Lions defeated Sydney University to advance to the grand final in season 2017.